Welcome back. In sports, let's inform you that former heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury has teased a potential return to the ring with a cryptic video on social media hinting at a future fight with fellow British boxer Anthony Joshua. The short clip shared from his gym featured Fury training with his coach Sugar Hill Stewart and ended with the statement, "You know what's coming," a speculation of a comeback. Fury had previously announced retirement following 2 consecutive losses to Alexander Usyk, but boxing insiders have remained skeptical about his departure from the sport. Meanwhile, Anthony Joshua is also back in training after recovering from a surgery due to a knockout loss against Daniel Dubois. Promoters believe a Fury-Joshua bout could become one of boxing's biggest events. And a break for entertainment news now. Welcome back. In entertainment, let's tell you that media personality Eric Gugwa has sparked debate online with his controversial relationship advice, cautioning men against marrying women who idolize their pastors more than their partners. In a post on social media, Gugwa stated that such behavior could spell trouble for the marriage, as some women prioritize their pastors' opinions over their husbands. The post has generated mixed reactions, with some agreeing and others calling it disrespectful to religious devotion. Gugwa's message touches on ongoing conversations about boundaries in spiritual mentorship and relationships, especially in highly religious societies like Nigeria. Well, that will be all on Biscon TV News for now, compiled and produced by Favor Ajabri. I'm Jones Hussein. Many thanks for watching.
Protected and so well monitored that they cannot go past what they have put in their prospectus to do. However, with American REITs, there's another arm that they can set up called taxable REIT structure. Those are the ones that, you know, they allow them to do the mowing of the grass, painting of the offices, and they create income out of that, and the income can be transferred into the main REITs. A TRS, taxable REIT structure, which is taxed at the corporate level, can engage in non-rental auxiliary business activities such as property management, leasing, and merchant development. All these activities contribute to REIT's earning. A REIT can own 100% of stock in a TRS. The REIT's company can have a subsidiary and owns it 100% into taxable REIT structure. The return profile of REITs exhibits characteristics of both equity and bond. Through the lease structure, REITs receive a steady stream of income like bond. However, about 10 to 20% of lease can come due each year, and the rates are marked to market, which allows REITs to take part in the economic cycle. In addition, REITs experience earning growth like an equity through their various sources of growth: acquisition, development, and redevelopment. Now we're going to go into the main crux of how money made. Funds from operation. Now, when you're talking about REITs in America, most REITs managers, they talk about FFO. Any manager, when you go home, read about REITs in America, all they're concerned is FFO. Whereas in the share capital market, what you're talking about is earnings per share. So with the FFO, these sections, I'm going to talk about funds from operation, which is what we call FFO. This section addresses many accounting issues impacting REITs, which includes definition of funds from operation, an explanation of how it differs from generally acceptable accounting principle. When I say GAAP net income, everybody knows, well, not everybody knows, but in accounting, there's something called generally acceptable accounting principle, which is called the GAAP. The way you create your GAAP, the way you formulate your GAAP, the way you realize income from GAAP is different from the way you realize income from REITs. There's a difference between reported and normalized funds from operation. The purpose and definition of adjustable funds from operation, those are the three layers I'm going to be talking about. FFO is net income, that is income after expenses, plus amortization, plus depreciation minus gain on sale of property. We will talk about that when we go to the main crux of the matter. Net income to FFO funds. Put in your head, please, when you're looking about, when you're discussing with people on American REITs, FFO. That's all about American REITs. FFO. GAP net income, including any impairment charges. I'm showing you how it is structured in America. We will get to, thank God Mr. Daniel is here. He is an authority in Nigerian REITs. He's done the Union Homes REITs. So he will explain so many technicalities of the Nigerian version, and then you can ask different questions the way you want it. Now, the net income is net income minus gains from sales of property. That's your appreciation. All right? Plus losses from sale of property. You could be positive or negative. Plus empowerment charges. Empowerment charges means repair charges. Plus real estate depreciation and amortization. That gives you the funds from operation. When you get home, when you get to that level, when I do the case study, I'll show you everything on the paper. Now, real estate depreciation and amortization. Although GAAP treats real estate depreciation as an expense, real estate values have historically not eroded over time because increasing land cost and higher replacement cost. Therefore, operating result of real estate companies that use GAAP historical cost accounting can be misleading. Very misleading. The term funds from operation was created to address the problem and essentially exclude add-backs. Historic cost depreciation from GAAP net income. Now, I want, some of us are realtors, some of us are accountants, some of us are practitioners in the business, some of us are even construction magnates. But I want us to understand something. REITs in America is purely based on this accounting principle of FFO, which takes into cognizance your general expense that is made as historical cost. You understand what I'm saying? Now, with REITs, the term funds from operation was created to address this problem and essentially excludes add-backs. Historical cost depreciation from GAAP net income. Since introduction of F550, it has become widely acceptable to evaluate REITs cost. What that means is that all the things you need to evaluate, for example, some of us will paint a house or paint a flat, and say because we painted that flat, the value of the flat has increased. That's not true. The REITs has created that funds from operation to take cognizance of that. They remove that because you say in your account, your balance sheet, you say cost of appreciation. So because I've painted, I've done the roof has been repaired and everything, my assets has increased. When you're evaluating dividends, when you're collecting dividends from REITs, that has to be removed because that is not an add-on. Okay? Sometimes I want to say amen, but I'm sorry to say that. Since the introduction of the term FFO, it has become widely used for REITs and is useful in determining the operating result of REITs as well as comparing results from REITs. You use it to determine your dividend structure, and also you use it to determine how REIT is performing, how your REIT is performing. Impaired charges. Until 2004, REITs added back impairment losses to FIFO, funds for operation. Initially, these add-backs made a sensible sense. Since gains and losses on real estate were also included in funds for operation, in 2004, North American Real Estate issued further guidance on reporting of funds from operation based on SEC's discussion and clarification. Impaired write-down should not be excluded from funds from operation. However, in 2012, North American REITs announced that SEC is now neutral to excluding of impairment charges to calculate funds from operation. REITs have now started adding back impairment losses in their funds for operation calculation, even though they must exclude gains on sale and are permitted to exclude the loss on sale. That's what I was telling you earlier on, that because you've done some empowerment, some dress rehearsals, painting, and
first of all, to congratulate you for this bold initiative. Personally, I have been involved in REIT investments outside Nigeria for a number of years. In fact, that's how I was able to pay my children's school fees. So I understand the structure of REITs, and I can say that we are actually late in REITs in Nigeria. So it's a great initiative you've taken. The second part is more of a selfish comment. We are builders and contractors, and drawing from the experience of the REITs we've been involved in abroad, how they partner with construction companies, we are actually going to engage deeper with Quant Capital in the various SPVs for the various investments, because each investment is an SPV, and then we're going to really work hard with them to come up with what will be marketable to Nigerians. The third comment I want to make is that REITs gives, and that's one thing I thought we hadn't mentioned, it de-risks real estate ownership. If you have your, like Mr. Lemon said, if you had your 40,000 naira and built a house in Akute, and it gets flooded, like we have seen in Lagos, and Lagos is really, the island is really the wetlands because it's below sea level, you have a chance of losing your investment. Insurance companies are pulling back from insuring properties on Lagos Island because of floods right now. So the valuation of some of these properties in these locations are going south. So what a REIT does is that it de-risks that, because you have a little ownership in so many properties that even if one gets flooded, your income stream is still assured, as opposed to if one collapses, if one is under high tension, if one is under flood. I would encourage Quant Capital to, when they are speaking to prospective investors, to highlight that aspect, because it means that people with 100,000 naira savings can get a steady stream of income for a very long time. Thank you very much.
One thing REITs brings into play is that they appoint an insurer who insures the risks of all these properties, and there's a valuation officer. Of course, he's registered with SEC. He is also always ensuring that the property value is within the risks that can be borne by the REITs. Otherwise, they sell it off and then go into another one. Thank you. So that essentially makes the REITs, the risk is minimal. And as I will explain, all the benefits that will come out of risk is for even the common man, like he has said, the granite seller, the pepper seller, the major thing is getting the price right, as you will see from my talk. Thank you very much.
And what you have on the slide, I have followed through, but my mind is still trying to wrap itself around the need to not recognize the income on the sale of property. And the revenue element, is it just rental income or all kinds of income and sales proceeds? I need, that understanding.
Ensure the steady income in view of the level of occupancy you have in most of these high-rise buildings in Lagos. Let me talk about Lagos. If you go to most offices and even on some of these malls, if you take the case of the popular First Mall, which is by Lekki there, for the first maybe 2, 3, 4 years or so, it was about less than 50% occupied until it picked up. How do you ensure steady income, like you said, to the investors of REITs based on your presentation? That's one. Then also from accounting perspective, I'm saying when you say free flow from income and you are adding back depreciation and amortization, that is, you are assuming that the net income, you deducted depreciation before. That's why you're adding it back or what? I don't know. I just want to get that point clear from accounting perspective. Because from cash flow, we say we add back depreciation, assuming you deducted depreciation. So I just want some clarification on that.
Well, let me put it this way. In the REIT, you have two aspects to it. You can get from there's the dividend income, and there's also it's an instrument that will be traded. So then there's the appreciation on the value of your stock. So now that speaks to two different sources of income. Now, how do you guarantee, based on the occupancy level, and I think today they are sitting less than 55% occupancy rate, a lot of occupied apartments all over Lagos. Pricing might be the issue, I'm not sure. Then also, if you look at the REITs you have on the market, you find that not a lot of them have done very well based on their share price increment. So how do we go about ensuring both dividend income as well as appreciation on the price of the stock, which I think would be the driver more than dividend income, would then be the stock movement of my value of my stock.
15 million. I'm just using this as a case study here as an example. Now, property maintenance is 3 million. When you calculate all this, I'm going to take these two questions together. Now, when you calculate all this, what they're saying is that you add your depreciation, because in most cases real estate do not really depreciate, they increase in value, and you cannot use depreciation as an asset increase. So they have to return it back to a positive entry because you've already taken it off. So on your own case, ma'am, when you're saying revenue 50 million, you look at all this, it says net income, which is our net operating income. You take off amortization out of it, you add amortization out of it, and then you add your depreciation, because assets do not really, real estate assets do not really technically depreciate if it's properly maintained, right? You subtract the gain you had when you were selling the property, you subtract it before that, because that becomes your overall income when you're doing your FFO. I hope you understand, but I can explain to you later on when I finish, because I can explain one-on-one to you. If anybody doesn't understand, you can stay behind. We can explain one after the other to you when we're in a 1 hour break that we're having. On the issue of steady income stream. Now, one of the big problems we have in this country is that we cannot use the American structure to judge Nigerian structure. In the first instance, most of the buildings or malls are overstated in pricing. The reason why they're overstated is because the cost of construction is so high. But with REITs, it's zero cost. So you can now, for example, if I'm renting a place for 10 million a year,
And if it's in a REIT structure, because my cost is zero, I can now bring the cost down for ordinary person to rent it. If those malls were taken out of REITs, you think we'll be charging the same price they're charging now? No, it'll be lower. And because the prices are lower, people will, for one, if I have a store I'm going to rent and they're renting that place for 2 million rather than 10 million, a lot of people will wipe it out. And you still make your money on REITs. That's the reason why you have so many lock-up stores that are there, because the cost of production, the construction is so high, which they have to cascade into leaseholders. And that's why it's difficult for them to rent. But if on REITs, it's a zero cost, you can now come down to the level. When I say zero cost, I mean zero finance cost. Then you can now take it down to the pricing of each unit.
Jeremy Daniel. All right, so as it comes, he's going to be talking on operational guidelines of real estate investment trust rates in Nigeria. So the focus will be on Nigeria right now.
Good afternoon. Like the compare said, I hope we are not going to sleep. I hope the tea, the coffee has energized you enough, and that the session just before now was stimulating enough to keep you awake. I want to start by, I don't want to go into introducing because she's done that, and I don't want to take, I have only 45 or thereabout minutes to talk about all this in one. So I'm going to try to go through in the simplest of forms how you can go about REITs in Nigeria, talking from the experience I've had in the market. And like I said, I want you guys to be aware of the REITs in Nigeria so that you can benefit from it. You can also spread the gospel of REITs around so that people will get to start investing in it because it pays. What did I say? It pays. Okay, great. Let me first start with the teaser. How many of us remember when this issue of cell phones started and MTN came into the market? Do we all remember it? Okay, I was in South Africa, I remember, some 2 years after, and MTN was running a workshop, and the CEO of MTN in South Africa made a statement, and that statement had remained with me for a long time. I think it was in 2003 or thereabouts. What did he say? He said, God bless the person who introduced MTN to Nigeria and was adamant that they should invest in it. Because MTN in Nigeria had been making profits for all other loss areas where MTN had stations. Why was he saying that? Because of the volume. Because of the volume. Now let's put that in proper perspective in terms of REITs in Nigeria. It means that by all intents and purposes, Nigeria right now, having gone 10 odd years in REITs, should be strong enough to claim its rightful place in Africa. But why is it not claiming? Because of awareness. When the cell phone started in Nigeria, it wasn't the first cell phone, was it? It was, we were using Note 9 Note just before then. So it had created the awareness necessary. And everybody, when they traveled, they were also aware that they could use a cell phone and all that. So the awareness had been created in a large volume. So much so now, even the mechanics, the painter, all of them have how many lines? Maybe 3, 4 of MTN, Airtel, Glo, you know, just because one doesn't work, they migrate to the other. That is what REIT is supposed to be for. REIT is supposed to create an avenue of revenue for you in a building such as this, in buildings such as a mall, in buildings such as an office complex, in buildings such as residential buildings. Why am I saying that? Because I know, because there is experience in that. Let me give you a figure that will stun you. How many of us attended the Nigerian Stock Exchange seminar on REITs earlier in May this year? Did anyone here? No. Okay, you did. Okay. It gives us a staggering figure of what the size of it. It says the current size of Nigerian REIT sector stands at 40 billion naira. Translated to a dollar is 131 million at official rate. That was as at May. What is most staggering is that REITs in the sectors, in stock exchange, is 0.5% of the exchange. In all other countries, REITs explains for 2.5 to 5%, but in Nigeria, we're just 0.5%. That is a great disappointment. Now, having said that, I also mentioned about the ATC in America, which came in last year and made $216 million out of our system. Money that we could have earned and distributed to investors in this country. So, here today, I want you to open up your minds to see the mechanics of a REIT as simple as it is. I'll take you through what we did in Union Homes and the operating guidelines so that you would appreciate the safety measures that Securities and Exchange has tried to put in place towards ensuring that investors are well protected, that the fund manager makes his money, and for everybody, it should be a win-win situation. Now, the structure of a REIT is like this, as defined in the trust deed and in accordance to the Securities and Exchange Commission rules of the Investment and Securities Act of 2007, which further made rules this year, June. It defines that, I won't go into the definition of a REIT and all that because we've already gone through that. I won't bore you with that. But the regulatory framework is guided by the ISA, the Investment and Securities Act of 2007, and the rules promulgated in furtherance of the ISA of 2007. It defines that there should be a fund manager. Who is the fund manager? The fund manager is the body. I think he talked about it. Is the body that would approve a resolution that the company must go into the REIT. Having studied, having consulted, having experienced and explained all the technicalities, they then sit down and pass a resolution. Now, once they pass that resolution goes to SEC. From beginning, you must allow SEC to know every step of the way what you as a fund manager wants to do. Why am I saying that? Even the fund manager must be registered with SEC. Because if you are not registered as a fund manager, you cannot go into a REIT. Further parties to the REIT is a trustee. That's where it derives its name, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. It's a trust. The trustee is independent of the fund manager. That is one level of confidence that they try to build for the trust scheme. And why am I saying is a level of investment? Because the trustee, a company appointed, must be independent of the fund manager. The interest of the trustee is in the investors and not the fund manager, pardon me. He must act in every situation in the interest of the investors. Now, in acting in the interest of the investors, it is reportable to SEC in every of his dealings. Where he finds, or the trustees find, that there's any infraction or there's any reason to believe that there will be any infraction, the trustee must inform SEC. And SEC then comes down on the neck of the funds manager. So that is one level of confidence that was built into the Investment and Securities Act to protect the investors. For any REIT scheme, there must also be an account bank or a cash manager. And I'll tell you the purpose of this later on. The account manager must be appointed from day one when you are going into this offer. The accounts manager would most likely also give a guarantee of the funds that is being raised, that is going to be secure, is going to be safe, all through the pendency of the scheme. Now, if for any reason the accounts bank is being threatened by maybe liquidation or liabilities that they can't meet up with to their assets, then the trustee must make a report to SEC. And SEC must take immediate measures to ensure that the account is removed from such a bank and placed in another bank. That is another security measure. Confidence to the investor. For any REIT scheme, there must be a cash management agreement. That agreement must be in place for the bank that is maintaining the accounts. Again, when the investment has come in, the pool of funds is there, and everything is going on, a third level of confidence built into the scheme is an investment committee. The investment committee must be provided for in a trust deed that must be drawn up for the purpose of the REIT scheme. That investment committee must be headed by the chairman of that committee, must be from the trustees. Again, independent of the funds manager. Why is that in place? It is a third level of security for the investors to know that their funds is not being tampered with, either by the funds manager who is in cahoots with the account bank, is separate and independent from them. That is a third level of security. I've told you 3 levels now. If you as an investor know that this and this and this are in place, different from a shareholding, wouldn't you want to then say you will go to sleep with your minimal investment in this kind of property? That's the question I want to ask you today. Now, you know that the fund manager is not dealing with your money. You know that a committee is always in place looking for investments, the outlets to put your money, and all that stuff. I think, to the barest of minds, you will go to sleep some bits. I'll go on further. Different from the investment committee, there is also an investment policy that must be in place. Also must be in place, enshrined in the trust deed. It sets out the investment objectives, it sets out the investment outlets. The ISA has provided for the ratio of the investments that should be put in place. Okay? It says real estate and real estate related assets must be 90%, which means that you must invest most of your money in properties that are viable. And why am I saying viable? The ISA and an independent person who will be appointed by the two. The two, that is the funds manager and the trustee, must agree on one person that will be on the committee serving as an independent director. Now that independent person, most times, is an expert. From my experience, we appointed somebody who had been into property and knows a lot of property. So each time any property is brought into the committee, he says, he knows that the property in the neighborhood is this, that. And I'll tell you why. From my experience, what happened was, when we went into the REITs, we brought in some properties, we introduced some properties in Lagos, Kaduna, Abuja, high-end properties. In Lagos, one on
I realized that they were able to survive or emerge because of past experiences in real estate to some extent. UPDC, the UPDC REIT came out of the Property Development Activity Law, UPDC. The Union Homes REIT came out of the Property Development and Mortgage Activity Law, Union Homes. Sky Shelter from Sky Bank's involvement in real estate finance and all. Now, my question is,
a lot of us who know what is going on in other parts of the country now will appreciate that dialogue is a positive driver of development. Now, I gleaned from the first speaker, particularly when Mr. Lemo was reading his paper, that in the US, because we seem to be making so much reference to America, almost such that we look at in this country as well and see what they have in that law, whether we can find a pattern for it on these shows to guide us to a more effective regime for REITs in this country. One of the reasons why I say so is my worry. The reality of REITs itself is tied to land, and we all know what land is in this country. They are still killing themselves in some parts of Lekki, towards a fair, as we hear from time to time. Now, the Land Use Act itself, which is the foundation of land tenure or ownership or registration in this country, is opposed deliberately to allow investors to have access to credit to banks. So that was a very commendable way of attracting business and encouraging entrepreneurship and business in that environment. But it is not a uniform
practice.
Exactly. So if you have REITs in one part of the country with a different regime, then you tend to have those distortions and imbalances. It can become a tangent from an investor's point of view. Please give us some direction on that. Thank you. Okay.
The gospel and of rates that we have on the Nigerian Stock Exchange as we speak, since the time they were launched to date, you would agree with me that we can say that the investors in those instruments are worse off. If you look at the real value of money, I looked at Union Homes, I looked at UPDC, I looked at Sky Shelter. Probably the reason why they are still trading, Union Homes is trading at 10 naira, I mean at 45 naira, it is 22 kobo thereabout, and the UPDC is still trading at around 10 naira. And same goes for Skyline. It's just because there is no activities around those instruments. Just yesterday, just about 750 units or so was traded on Union Homes, and then about 110 or so was traded on UPDC. And if activities have actually been recorded, probably the prices of these stocks would be nothing to write home about today. And then if you look at the value, what money could buy when they invested this money in these stocks, compared to what that volume of money or that amount of money can buy today, you will discover that investors are worse off. So why is another thing I also look at is that over that period of time, people that probably go into investment in land, properties, and buildings and other things, they've made, if not more than double or more, or 3 or 4 or 400% return on the investment in landed property. For instance, if I put my money in one Lekki at 750, maybe I bought a land for 750,000 naira 2-3 years ago. Probably I'll be selling it, and then I am not even able to sell my investment. I'm not able to realize my investment as at when.
Suck up all these things, and that is what is happening. That's why Quant Capital is beginning to create that awareness, and we pray that others will also come into the market to ensure that REITs would sustain the market in terms of housing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next we have
Okay, yeah.
okay, while that is still going on, next we have Mr. Shegun Ajanli Koko.
Not even Lagos State, which is big. They have regular power supply. They have averagely good roads. They have potable water. And things are working. And then I compare the exchange rate to ours. Zambia is 10 to 1 to dollar. 10 to 1. Tanzania 8 to 1. And Kenya too is about 8.5 to 1. 8.8. And Nigeria, where is the exchange rate? So those are food for thoughts as to how we manage our economy. Currently, many cannot afford a decent home. I know one questionnaire has talked about affordability, that the products that are in the market are unreachable to the average people. And this is very true. Nearly half of Nigeria's population lives in semi-urban, 16 to 17 million. I've heard lately in one conference that I went to that it's 24 million, 25 million. So these are statistics that form the basis of how or where our problem lies and what are the solutions that are available. Today, I'll give a statistics of, you may need to flick around because I want to show some statistics of our state of, the statistics on toilets and so on. If you go further, you've gone past it. Look, there's other statistics, maybe you should. If we look at this one, which is about water distribution in Nigeria, this table shows that about 40% of our households in Nigeria lack treated pipe-borne water. As at 1996, the proportion of urban dwellers that had access to pipe-borne water remained at 26%. Is there any, are we surprised when we have cholera and all those diseases?
Hello and welcome to Biscon TV News. I am Jones Osen. First, the headline stories. Obi doesn't need PDP to defeat Tinubu, says Nigeria Labour Congress. Nigeria scraps bilateral education agreement, BEA scholarship, students stranded abroad. In business, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, sacks refinery managing directors in major shakeup. In foreign news, Trump celebrates one about Obi, read that Obi has national support, especially from the youth-led obedient movement, and that the North sphere of zoning should not overshadow Obi's competence and track record. He insisted that Obi doesn't need 8 years to revive Nigeria, noting the former governor's discipline and non-disarmament has officially ended the bilateral education agreement BEA scholarship program, citing inefficiency and unsustainable public spending. And other state officials were defecting to the All Progressives Congress APC. Acting National Chairman Ilyas Damagun revealed this after the National Working Committee meeting, noting the aim was to retrieve the mandate handed to the defectors under the PDP platform. The party has also vowed Welcome back. In business, let's tell you that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has removed the managing directors of its three major refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, as part of a sweeping management shakeup. This comes after the recent dismissal of former Group CEO Mele Kyari, as President Tinubu moves to restructure the oil sector and increase. Welcome back. In foreign news, U.S. President Donald Trump celebrated 100 days of his second term with a fiery rally at Michigan, using the occasion to mock Joe Biden, repeat claims of winning the 2020 election, and defend his global tariff policies. Trump, speaking before a cheering crowd and electronic banners reading 100 Days of Greatness, also highlighted his administration's mass deportation efforts and tough stance on immigration. During the 90-minute address, he praised his leadership for bringing profound change to Washington, claiming inflation had been ended, and expressed optimism about striking a fair trade deal with China. The rally had strong campaign overtones, with Trump presenting himself as the only one capable of saving entertainment news now. Welcome back. In entertainment, let's tell you that media personality Eric Gugwa sparked debate online with his controversial relationship advice, cautioning men against marrying women who idolize their pastors more than their partners. In a post on social media, Gugwa stated that such behavior could spell trouble for the marriage, as some women prioritize their pastors' opinions over their husbands. The post has generated mixed reactions, with Gugwa's message touches on ongoing conversations about boundaries in spiritual mentorship and relationships, especially in highly religious societies like Nigeria. Well, that will be all on Biscon TV News for now, compiled and produced by Favor Ajabri.
As a matter of principle, I said, no, I won't get fund at 25, 30%. That's not good. It can't help us. And I once was involved in Goshen Beach. You know Goshen Beach? The initial concept as a project manager was that we would do 500 housing to meet the middle class people. The costing then was to be about 12 million to buy. By the time we started, and we had to get money from Diamond Bank and from so on, the overall, we couldn't go far. And we went for real we didn't go for all the big contractors who will rip you off. But even then, we could only do 125 housing units because the cost of fund was already enveloping what we're doing. And in the end, how much was it sold? I told the colleagues that this is unheard of because there was demand from the elites. They were bringing cash. None of those houses were sold less than 35, 40 million. So I once told the people in Central Bank, I say, you say housing development is taking place in Abuja, Nigeria, and in Lagos. At what cost? And who are the beneficiaries? Can the average Nigerian afford it? Then continuous corruption. Because for you to buy those houses, the people who are buying it, they're just taking money and just putting it somewhere. They're not working for it. Without an effective finance system, no construction-related activity can be implemented. In Nigeria today, the source of fund for all the REIT and so on is this. And I'll give an example. I said in the editorial of Guardian editorial of 28th of October 2014, a figure of 43,126 housing units was posted as having been built by mortgage institutions and Federal Mortgage Bank over 4 years, between July 2010 and September 2014. 43,000 housing. In 10 years, and I have that figure, Federal Mortgage Bank, that was being fed by government, was able to do 121,000 housing units. And we say, according to United Nations, UN Habitat, we must build 1 million housing units every year for the next 20 years to meet our homelessness. And all government and what have you together, private and so on, we can't even do 10,000 housing units. Why? Because the instruments, the funding available cannot take this. So I have said there is therefore no doubt that there is a need for private sector-led specialized bank set up primarily to mobilize funds and other resources required to finance the production of housing and infrastructure at a concessionary interest rate, single digit. Such a bank will create financial instrument which can be used to finance construction, development of large projects and infrastructure, especially under a private sector agreement. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, there's no doubt that, I'll skip the first part, there's no doubt that with the establishment of this type of bank, Nigeria's bleak story of non-development and hopelessness will be a thing of the past. It is indeed opprobrium, a shame, that over 50 years of independence, we are still in the doldrums, no good roads, no power supply, lack of good potable water supply, very poor housing unfit for human habitation. The time to act and do the right thing is now with us. I'll end up with a quote from James Madison. Success has a price tag on it, and the tag needs courage, determination, discipline, risk-taking, perseverance, and consistency, doing the right things for the right reason, and not just when we feel like it. I thank you for your attention.
Construction Development Bank, at least to bring down the cost of funding for development of estates, such that because until things like this are done, it's actually very difficult to package instruments like REITs. Because one of the ways I believe we can achieve our targets on REITs is by having a development bank that can actually fund development of estates, which can subsequently be packaged into rate. And then we can be looking at diaspora people to actually also bring in their fund. I believe that people that are working in the US, that are working in Canada, in other parts of Europe as well, they actually, like, I spoke with a few, and I know that quite a number of them would like to invest in Nigeria, but they want a structured vehicle through which they can actually do this. I just want to encourage you and also challenge everyone that we should try to do everything possible to bring these things to the attention of government, such that we will have this. I strongly believe in this presentation that you have made, and I believe that this is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Shegun.
Yeah.
I want to ask, is they just set up what they call infrastructure bank? I don't know what you call it, the one that my good friend Obanachi is. Yes. So is it something like that you are thinking about, or is there a relationship? Or you want
they are borrowing our ideas. I would like to know about the efforts so far.
And they will make a good mess of it.
Yes,
the second one is that I think professional groups like your institute could make detailed presentation to the House, because if you look at everything that is like social service, there is no viable economic way of providing it, except you have a liability pool. Okay, you can see this unit trust is a way of pulling resources together. But at housing and infrastructure level, just like education and health, you need to think creatively. That's why you see the debate going on about Obamacare, and because health, even almighty America could not find a way around it. That is the nature of social goods. But it appears that those in Abuja, even though they are intelligent people, when we knew them before they went there, some of them, as soon as they get there, they become so, yes, I don't know how to describe them. So I think we need to remind them that there is no linear way of dealing with these things. They have to look at creative liability pool structure. It could be insurance based, it could be tax. I don't know what they did with education trust fund, education tax they have been collecting. But if they sanitize those things and create things like that, they are likely to accumulate long-term fund that can spark off mortgage, which is a marathon.
Okay.
Thank you.
A long time. I must say, I'm going to announce here that Quant Capital is going to go into alliance with him and to develop this construction bank. We will make sure that it works, because we need to work together. Construction bank and Quant Capital need to work together. Thank you.
Have money, we can put $500,000 down, and Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors, Nigerian Institution of Surveyors, Nigerian engineers, that between us we can have a critical mass. You see, it's critical mass that built America, that built everywhere that you have population. I said, we can have up to 250 of us. That can put $500 million down. That time we will have met the $3 billion that was needed for licensing a bank. And then I've done my work. I've gone to China Construction Bank. They say if you can do that, we'll put $500 million, $500 million. I went to US. I met Guggenheim Bank. There's a family of bankers, Jews. We'll put $500 million down, $500 million. And so I went to Obasanjo and I said, we've come to present to you the only branch for this country. And Baba was so interested. come every 3 months, you must meet with me. Everybody was sitting, his economic team. So I presented, he was overwhelmed, single digit, because he was always, we'll do single, yeah, I said, because we are taking money, cheap fund, from everybody who is interested. And I went to the UK. When UK says, Shegun, just come. Don't mind all these banks. They are just ripping us off. As soon as you are getting the not come to the house, the stock market, you will get money. I opened my mouth because, you know, to do these things, you must have a receivers bank and so on. So I had to go to all my friends, starting with Tayo Aderioko and so on. I didn't know that I was opening a canker-worm of why should you do this and so on. But I went, we spoke with Obasanjo. He said we should have regular meetings. And he said to all of them, don't let all these civil servants come there. They have hands of leprosy. He said, am I lying against you? They said, no, 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 no. They said, anything they touch, they will mess it up. So let's just meet with me. But long and short, suddenly, after a year or so, he just said, they said I should not talk to you people anymore. I said, who? He said, all these people, they said, you people in the profession, in the construction industry want to become bankers. I said, but you know that is not right. How? He said, they said that we have enough fund in the country through the commercial banks that can cater for our need. I said, it cannot be possible. Baba, you can't, I'm sure you're not serious. He said, well, I will let them not hold you down, but they have said we should just recapitalize the commercial banks to 25 billion. That once they will do that, there will be enough fund to meet all our needs. I said 25 billion. To do one major job in this country, I said 100 billion to do roads. Where will the bank get it from? I said, it's not possible. He said, okay, go away, go and meet the CBN governor, Sholudo and Tunde Lemo, and explain why this specialized bank must be done. So I went to them immediately after leaving Azurok. I said, tell me where and how you say the commercial bank are doing what they should do to help housing stock. I say, Abuja. I say, you can talk about Abuja. I'll talk to you about Lagos. And the axis of growth is Lekki. And all the housing that are being done by the developers of various sorts. I say, we did one. We're to do 500. No money. We did 120. All of them. This is the only vehicle. But, you know, Nigeria has interest, I gathered. So long after that, I knew Baba, one old professor who is close to him, please don't talk about construction bank now, please, I beg you. In 10 years, we can go to it. I said, how? What we need now, why should we leave it for 10 years? He became chairman of one of the banks, commercial banks. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue to soldier on. We will get there. But you see, we lost those almost $1 billion. I went to Baba one time. I said the people from the Guggenheim family said they want to come and put this money, but they want request implemented. They said what? I said they want license to set up private refinery. When they give us the 500 million, and they've identified Benin. I just, who are they to dictate? I said, sir, they are bringing their money. They want to set up refinery. Those are days when we were doing export up till now. We send the crude. They were making serious. Baba said they should go to NNPC. I said, sir, that's a dead end. You know that. He said they should go and meet them and ask for license. I said, it will not be possible. You can give a presidential fiat. Many years after Jonathan, they were looking for a private investor in refinery. Nobody wants to come. We could have had that. I said to him, they will have set up refinery, employment possibilities for us. Importantly, we will have saved a lot of the hard-earned foreign exchange that we're spending. And that is the end of the story. And, but we will get there. We must not lose hope. Thank you all.
Of some banks in Nigeria for very special purposes. Some of them are alive today, many of them are gone. And so calling for a construction bank is something that would really aid and put our house deficits in proper shape so that we can fix, I beg your pardon, our housing deficit. Sir, I'm sure people are really looking forward to doing that. That was a very powerful one. Another round of applause. All right, in the house today, we'll just take like 2 minutes interlude, but we're still expecting a very revered man to be here, ably represented here today, to talk on something that's very important. That's property law and other legal instruments, considerations for successful rates implementation, learning from the UK experience. He's not here, but he's been ably represented by our Chief Executive Officer of Mona Matthews. She's a lawyer, very learned by all standards. I watched her, nodding and reacting to the, seminar, the lecture actually given by Mr. Ajali Koko. She's by no means, small. She's huge and very knowledgeable. Please join me as I welcome Mrs. Abimbola Aze, as she represents Mr.
Investment trust is broadly a closed-ended, publicly traded company that provides investors with tax-efficient investment exposure to property assets. The UK REIT regime was introduced on the 1st of January 2007 and is relatively new compared to the longer established regimes of the US and Australia, for example. Amendments to the primary REIT legislation came into force on the 17th of July 2012, which removed certain barriers to entry and further encouraged investment into UK property. Some established UK property companies have converted REIT status and have converted to REIT status, and a number of newly formed REITs have carried out initial public offerings using the proceeds to acquire property assets. This has acted as an important source of investment for the UK property sector, including recently in subsectors such as logistics, warehouses, and student accommodation. Key features of a REIT: tax efficiency. Investment in property assets through a corporate vehicle can be inefficient for certain types of shareholders who will effectively suffer tax twice on the income. First, when the corporate investment vehicle pays UK direct tax on its profits, and secondly, directly when the shareholder receives a distribution, unless an exemption or tax credit is available. REITs do not pay UK direct taxes on their income and capital gains from their qualifying property rental business, provided certain conditions are satisfied. Shareholders are generally then taxed on the distributions which they receive from REITs as if they were the profits of a property rental business. Liquidity. All REITs must be admitted to trading on a recognized stock exchange, which now includes AIM and the specialist fund segment of the main market, and must not be an open-ended investment company, OEIC. Investors can exit their investments in a REIT by disposing of their shares in the market, in contrast to an open-ended investment company where units must be redeemed by the fund. In volatile markets, OEICs can face large-scale redemptions which the manager will often seek to cap, locking in investors who may otherwise wish to exit. Such redemptions may also need to be funded by the rapid disposal of property assets by the OEIC. Income yield. REITs are required to distribute at least 90% of profits arising from their qualifying property rental business. REITs whose underlying assets are properties on long-term leases to tenants with a strong covenant can deliver secure long-term rental income that is then required to be passed on to shareholders in the form of dividends, coupled with the potential for capital appreciation. In low-interest environments, REIT shares can therefore be particularly attractive to investors. Operation of a REIT. A REIT will operate in most respects as any other UK publicly traded company, but with certain material differences as described below. The following assumes the REIT is subject to the listing rules that apply to an issuer with a premium listing. Internal or external management. The REIT may either be internally managed, meaning its own officers and employees manage the portfolio of assets owned by the REIT, or externally managed, whereby the REIT has no employees, its board is comprised solely of non-executive directors, and the executive function is outsourced to a third-party investment management company under the terms of an investment management agreement. Investor preference in the US is for internal management, which increasingly is becoming favored in Europe, largely due to a perception that external manager interests can deviate from those of the REIT and that conflicts of interest may arise. In practice, shareholder and manager interests can be aligned by linking the quantum of manager remuneration closely to the performance of the REIT and can by paying the manager partly in REIT shares. In addition,
is on the team of those, I don't know what you call those who engage in REITs. Okay, so let's say we have a group of 10 people and I have like 10 naira, other people have like a million or 100,000 naira. Must I go into legal agreement with them, or how do I enjoy still while I'm contributing the least ever? How do I know my rights? Do I have to go into legal agreements with them? Must it be written, or is this something that comes with every company?
Oh, thank you. We are talking about some 10 naira. It means that you are entitled to 1 unit. But what SEC has done is that you buy a minimum of 1,000 units and in multiples thereafter of 1,000. That 1,000 entitles you to a unit certificate. That
52 weeks a year, you tend to say amen. And sometimes you are not sure whether you are preaching or whether you are giving a paper. But by the time I collect the offering, I'll know whether I was preaching or not. Amen. Right, so it's my privilege and my pleasure to be here today to give a little paper on the tax considerations, implications, and propositions for real estate investment trusts, that's the REITs, which is the area that I believe Quant Capital wants to focus on over the next few years. And I do hope and pray that they'll be highly successful in what they have decided to do. Amen. Next slide, please. So I'm going to be looking at about 23 slides, but I'll try and shorten it because of your time and my time. I'm going through a little bit of an emergency, so I'll need to dash very soon. Okay, but I'll just give us an overview of real estate tax. You know, there's a difference between raw real estate investment and what they call the REITs. And I'm sure that quite a few people would have explained these differences to you, so I'm not going to bother to reinvent the wheel, but I'll just give my own understanding of REITs as we go along. And there are various taxes that apply to real estate or property transactions in Nigeria. A lot of people tend to think that there's not adequate taxation of property or real estate transactions in Nigeria, but that is not true. The fact is that a lot of people just don't pay the tax, or they try not to declare their profits, or they try not to follow the process of real estate and other transactions in Nigeria. There is taxes attributable to both real estate, both transfer taxes, both inheritance taxes that people tend to want to avoid in Nigeria. So generally, when you are this in their various states and slightly different rates, and if the transaction is done by a company or corporate organization, then the company's income tax and personal income taxes kick in, education tax and value-added taxes. I've differentiated this because sometimes real estate is done by individuals. Individuals do real estate transactions, and in that case, they go through capital gains, stamp duties, state property taxes. But if the real estate is done by a corporation or a company, then company's income tax and personal income tax also kicks in, education tax and value-added tax. And for those who don't have too clear an understanding of taxation, let me just explain these taxes very quickly. Next slide, please. Capital gains tax, okay? When you transfer interest in an asset, especially a real estate asset, you do make a profit. We expect that there is a profit that you make on the transfer. So we think that the asset has appreciated in capital. And if that transfer price is higher than the historical cost, then you are taxed on what they call the capital gains, and is applicable at 10%, and it can be significant where the gain is large. So for example, you bought a house in Ikoyi at 10 million in 1976, and then in the year 2009 or 2017 you sell the same house for 200 million naira, like Mrs. Gomez just did. Then she's then you will pay tax on the difference of 190 million, and that tax is 10%, which is 19 million tax that you pay. I mean, of course, with this sort of thing, you can see why a lot of people tend to avoid paying that kind of tax. Sometimes the gain may not be in cash, okay? So sometimes some people transfer assets to their children. So you transfer an asset to your child, to your husband, to your wife, and the assets, you transfer it to them at a certain price. They need to pay tax on that transferred asset. A lot of people don't pay this tax. They tend to avoid it, and they have all sorts of gimmicks they make. The second one you'll find is the stamp duty. The Stamp Duty Act provides for the application of a duty of 1.5% on transfer of property. So if you transfer property either by sale or transfer, you need to pay a duty of 1.5% on the value of the property, whether you made a profit or not. So if you transfer the property for 100 million, it means that you pay a stamp duty of 1.5 million naira, okay? But however, there are exemptions from stamp duty in cases of reorganization of companies or in transactions between related parties, okay? Thereafter, you have the state property tax. In Lagos State here, the Lagos State Land Use Act charge law consolidates all real property and land-based rates and charges in what you call the assessment law, land rates law, and the tenement rates into a single property land use tax. In those days, you had a lot of different kinds of charges on real estate. You had assessment law, you had land rates law, you had tenement rates, but now they have consolidated all this into a single property land use charge, and a rate of 0.394% applies to commercial and residential owner-occupied properties. So if you own and occupy a property, you pay a land use charge, and this is an annual payment. Every year you pay this amount for using that piece of property. A rate of 0.12% applies to new owner occupier individual properties. So when you bought a property for the first time, you use that rate. Subsequently, you use the first rate. Now, if the organization is a company, if it's a company that does the real estate transaction, so an individual can own a piece of real estate, a company, an organization like EcoBank, Quant Capital, or whatsoever can own a real estate in their own name, then after they have bought and sold the land, you may have done the capital gains tax, but at the end of the year, you do what they call a corporate rate tax of 30%. In that situation, the capital gains tax will serve as an initial tax, that can be backed out if the corporate tax eventually is higher than the usual taxes, okay? Now, if the business also does other things other than real estate, then the capital gains tax remains as a final tax on that real estate transaction, and they still pay corporate tax of 30% on the other things that they do, all right? Where it's an individual, they have graduated tax rates up to 24%, applies for individuals, partnerships, and so on and so forth, okay? So, next slide, please. Withholding tax. Withholding tax is applicable on lease rental at 10%. It's an advance tax deducted by the payer, and it can be used against future tax liabilities. So, for instance, if you bought your real estate not to resell, but to rent out, then anytime you rent out that real estate, you should charge a withholding tax. It is the landlord that pays that withholding tax, but typically they get the tenant to pay the withholding tax, and then they claw it back from their own final taxes. Okay. There's a circular from the Federal Inland Revenue Services which exempts residential rent from withholding tax. This is not based on the provisions of the law, but in practice, the Federal Inland Revenue Service will not charge withholding tax on residential rent, but state inland revenue services, LIRSs, charge this withholding tax, and sometimes it might be at 5% other than it being at 10%. In addition to company income tax, companies incorporated in Nigeria and engaged in commercial activities also pay 2% tax called the education tax. So these are the taxes that are applicable to an individual or a company that engages in real estate, what I call raw real estate transaction. In the case of the real estate investment trust, the taxation is slightly different. It's slightly different because REIT forms is, okay, let me talk about value-added tax before I close on that. Value-added tax, VAT Act says that tax is charged. This is a consumption tax. It's what we call a consumption tax. And value-added tax is charged and payable on the supply of all goods and services other than those that are specifically exempt. So some real estate transactions, such as those requiring construction and other services, fall within this provision. So if you are building real estate, then all the elements, your blocks, your sand, your coal tar, your cement, your iron rods, and so on and so forth, also attract what you call a value-added tax. As you pay for those things, you pay a VAT. The position of the law is that it's not clear on whether a sale or transfer of an interest in land is vatable. So there's still a confusion there, but all other things are generally vatable. Okay. Now, when you now go into REITs, real estate investment trust, these are a separate kind of vehicle. Okay, it's different from doing raw real estate transactions. You are now doing real estate investment under a different kind of vehicle, and I'm sure the gurus before me would have explained to you what a real estate investment trust is. But it is a collective investment scheme that enables investors pull together their resources to form, own, and manage portfolios, of real estate properties. So the Real Estate Investment Trust is an organization that's pulled together to manage specifically real estate. So it may not be like Dangote Properties or Gomez Properties that manage both real estate, and then they do a bit of buying and selling, then they do a bit of stocks and shares, then they do a bit of renting and not renting, and so on and so forth. It is a REIT is not as flexible and omnibus as most of those things. This one is focused specifically on real estate, okay? And the SEC is allowed to register the real estate investment trust. Next slide, please. Okay, there's equity REITs, okay? Equity REITs, I'm sure somebody may have explained that to you before. And this is to hold, manage commercial and rental properties through the hold, manage commercial and rental properties. So this REIT usually generates most of its income from rent. Most of its income comes from rental income. I'm sure from time to time an asset may be sold or bought, but most of the income comes from rental income. So the real estate goes into the business to earnest or generate rental income. And this is very important, as I will explain later. Then there's the mortgage REITs, okay, which invest in mortgages on real estate properties, okay? So these REITs invest in mortgages. They do not own, purchase, or manage properties, but the properties serve as collateral for loans of the mortgage REITs for the mortgage REITs to invest in, okay? And then sometimes you have real estate investment trusts that have a hybrid of both the equity and the mortgage REITs. There might be other REITs, the professionals in this business may tell you, but these are the ones that came to our knowledge when we're preparing this paper, okay? These are other information about REITs. I'm not going to go through that. That's not my area. But let me look at tax implication of REITs, okay? Real estate investment trust companies are liable to companies' income tax also at the rate of 30%. So the government recognizes a REIT as a corporate entity. However, there are certain exemptions so that people will want to go into this line of business, okay? The Debt Management Office in 2010, under the instruction of President Goodluck Jonathan, gave a tax waiver, okay? A tax waiver on all categories of bonds, federal, subnational, corporate, and supranational bonds, mortgage-backed securities, and asset-backed securities, okay? And REITs falls under the asset-backed securities, okay? And this is very important, okay? Because I think the government of Goodluck wanted to encourage a lot of people to go into the issuance of bonds, into corporate and supranational bonds, and what they call mortgage-backed and asset-backed securities, which is what a REIT is, okay? So a REIT generally has a tax waiver on income earned from the interest generated by the REITs, okay? Please go back. The range of taxes covered by the approval as those prescribed under the Personal Income Tax Act, the Value Added Tax Act, and the Capital Gains Tax Act, okay? All right? Now, what is the implication of this? Next slide, please. This implies that dividends of publicly traded REIT securities are exempt, number one, from withholding tax in the hand of the investors, number two, from value-added tax, and number three, from capital gains tax on the sale of these securities, okay? Let me clarify. This is different from the REIT as a corporate entity. This is the sale of the securities of the investors in the REITs. Okay, so if you invest in a REIT will generally give you a bond, a security, or a paper indicating your investment. You can also trade on these securities on the open or closed market depending on the terms of the REITs. So if I invest in the REITs or the quant REITs, okay, 2 million shares or 2 million units of that REITs, okay, and I want to sell my investment to lawyer Ladinegon or lawyer Babarinde, I can sell my investment, which should have appreciated, and I will be exempt from withholding tax or value-added tax or capital gains tax on the sale of that investment. The real estate investment trust itself will still pay tax, corporation tax, on the profits that it has made from the rental income, and also may pay withholding tax on the dividends that it pays to its unit holders. But I that trade in the unit itself, I am exempt from tax, okay? Also, the real estate investment trust is allowed to claim capital allowances on the properties before they compute their tax. The assets are stated at fair values, which boost the profit or loss accounts and the net asset of the REITs without necessarily attracting immediate cash payments. Now, let me explain this. Typically, in an accounting situation, you state your assets at the lower of cost or net realizable value. But now with IRS or whatever it is, assets are stated at fair value. So every time you do your accounts, you look for the fair value of your assets and you state them there. It may indicate that there might be a slight gain or even perhaps a loss on those assets, okay? Usually you should have paid a tax on that gain or loss, but these days with the REITs, they do not attract immediate cash tax payment. What they do is that you calculate what you call deferred tax and you make a provision in your books for deferred tax, waiting for the time when there's going to be an actual sale before that tax crystallizes. The deferred tax helps you to manage your cash flow and know that even though you have a lot of cash, you should be careful how you spend your cash because there's a tax overhang in your books that you need to look at and which may crystallize in the future. I hope I am not speaking above the heads of people. Amen. If I am, I have no apology. I paid money to learn my taxation. I will try to make it as simple and straightforward. I'm trying very hard to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. Okay, so foreign loans obtained to fund the REITs investments can also gain advantage of the tax exemptions on foreign loans. So Nigeria is trying to attract very many foreign loans. So if you've brought in a foreign loan to finance your REITs, the interest on that loan usually is also tax exempt. All right, benefits. Okay, what are the benefits of a REITs? REITs are subject to more stringent regulations in areas such as leverage and financial reporting, providing an added layer of security for investors. So if you invest in a REIT, the requirements for reporting and managing that REIT gives you additional security. REITs also offers capital gains potential as the portfolio grows. A REIT can also expose an investor to the entire gambit of real estate instead of certain areas alone. And the metric used REITs is referred as funds from operations, FFO, and it's a good measure of the value of properties owned by the REITs. Okay? Now I just have a few other issues and I will take my seat, and I do pray and hope that there will be no questions so that so that I can be on my way. Next slide, please. General comments. Okay, I'm just making some general comments which is a little bit outside my tax paper, just for the benefit of those of us who are here. Lagos, Abuja, and of course Port Harcourt are major centers of real estate development. Okay, so what I'm saying is that REITs that are developed in properties around this area can generally be safe and attractive, provided the issue of ownership can be clarified. Of course, Kaduna and Kano are also fast growing, and they are also showing that they can be good REIT investment areas.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful journey. I'll call it a journey. And I'd like to thank Pastor Itwa. He's made a very short speech, but the support he has given Quant Capital is immeasurable and invaluable. Please, ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Pastor Itwa. Thank you very much, sir. Please don't relent. But thank you very much. We also want to thank all of you that have come here. I know it's not been easy getting you all to come and sit down here for a full day. It's actually reassuring to see that at the end of the evening,
you're still sitting. And I believe that 5 years' time, we shall still see one another and said we were here 5 years ago, and thank God we did that. Let's put our hands together for ourselves again. REITs, as everybody has said, is the way to go. And now we don't want to see this just as an event. This is a seed and is the process into transforming real estate business and real estate development in Nigeria. So you're also the drivers of change. They say that if you want change, you must be the change you want to see in the society. So that you have come here at all demonstrates that you have the vision, you have the passion, you have the tenacity to drive the change. And God willing, you shall do that to our overall benefit in the mighty name of Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I know that you've all been so tired, so it's not time for talk. It's time to take this vision further. And let us all rise up and let's just be upstanding. And I'd like us to shake one or two people, get to know we've all sat down facing this place. We've not even had.
Okay. All right.
The reason behind the seminar is to sensitize the market on the real estate investment trust, to educate people on the benefits of it for Nigeria, which is the only solution for Nigeria right now. That's the reason why we set this up. Apart from the people that came over here, we've been in the new sprints, and people know that there's a real estate investment trust coming up. And there are participants here, are professionals in the industry. These are people that are the drivers of the real estate structure in Nigeria, and I think it's been passed well. Yes, it's going to be an annual event. We're going to be doing it every year, and just to let people know that this is the solution to Nigeria. Thanks a lot.
Well, the seminar has been eye-opening, and I would say that what I've benefited so far, outside of the networking, has to do with the knowledge of the REITs market itself. Because basically it's something that we know, but this has helped us to deepen our knowledge of the market and see the opportunities therein. And I believe that from here we would be able to do much greater things. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
I think the time has come. Most of the people who are promoting this have they started this quite long time ago, especially at Janle Coco, who's tried to start a construction bank, and I thank God that he's still trying to push to start a construction bank so that we can get funds at single digits. And I'm glad that the Gomez is leading this Quant Capital as well. He has a passion for it, and I think that's the way to go in the real estate. You know, like the deficits, we need to close that gap, make real estate affordable, bring in value engineering to, you know, the processes and everything. And you see that we'll close the gap, you know, in the next 10-15 years. But this is the way to go. REITs is the way to go. There are other ways of funding, but as long as we create awareness, people get to know, and the government giving incentives in this area, you know, will be a very good catalyst, you know, in improving.
Hello, we are here once again, Biscon TV, newspaper headliners. We share the stories in the headlines with you, just so you go out, get the papers of your choice, read the stories, and then give contexts to them and clarity. Okay then, the papers are here, so let's make to see them one after the other. The Punch is the first paper on call, but let me introduce myself. Jones Hussein. My co-anchor is Nelson Ekujumi. Nelson, I greet you.
Joseph, and
Yeah.
our viewers.
Yeah. So the first paper, the Vanguard. Now, Nelson, defections is still in the air. Defections. PDP goes to court, says APC will soon implode.
Well, I don't know the reason for they are going to court. Maybe it's to get their members who have defected to return back to the party. But we all know that under the Constitution of Nigeria, the right to associate is a constitutional right.
And right to move.
Right to move. So for APC to be predicting that APC will soon improve, well, we wait to see. Maybe there's Nostradamus in the PDP now.
Yeah, there are some 3 riders there. Tasks its South-South committee to oversee the party in Delta.
Okay.
I informed Atiku before defecting Okowa, and Okowa says he was hounded. He was not hounded by EFCC.
If Okowa has told Atiku, maybe can we say he got Atiku's blessings before defecting from his confession? Also, we will know that in Delta State, the PDP has been stripped bare. There's nothing left in the PDP because all the structure of the party has defected to the APC. Well, the days ahead promises to be interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah. Nelson, we're living in interesting times.
Absolutely.
Okay, minor pieces include lawmakers and telcos that telecoms companies clash over kidnapping, phone-related crimes.
Well, I don't think
you get the gist.
I get the gist. Yes, they are trading blames. I don't think there's any need for this because the essence of the telephone is for us to be able to have a data of who is making the call and what and who is receiving, and even the content of the conversation. So I think what the lawmakers should do is to make a law that will empower the security agencies, to be on top of their game with regards to phone-related crime.
Yeah. So a clash is not
necessary. It's absolutely unnecessary.
Okay, here is Trump's 100 days. How America First president. His mantra is America First.
Yes.
How America First president is reshaping the world.
Absolutely. Trump's second coming has turned out to be a tsunami for the global, for global affairs in the world as well as the global economy.
Yeah.
And this is just 100 days. And who knows what we expect in the days.
He says no president in history had achieved what he has achieved.
Well, he's scoring himself. I don't think he will score himself low anyway. Once you are doing a self-appraisal, it is incumbent on you to score yourself high. So, but his scorecard will be judged, in comparison to other American presidents.
And by extension, posterity.
And posterity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Go on, Obasanjo and governors, plus others, to honor Edwin Clark, who passed in Lagos tomorrow.
Yes, Edwin Clark has transited to the other side. And
he paid his dues.
Absolutely, yes. He was an elder statesman who always intervened in national issues affecting the people. And it is incumbent on those alive to honor the dead, because the dead cannot honor the dead.
Governor Okwebolo goes tough on kidnappers and cultists. The rider here commences demolition of properties linked to sponsors.
Well, it's a good one, but also we must admonish these state governments to go a little deeper. And why do I say this? A lot of kidnappings that happen in locality. And you ask, what are the traditional institutions doing with regards to information on security? So it will not be out of place if the governor also sends a strong message to the traditional institutions.
Yeah, Nelson, let me tease you here. My governor in my state, Akwa Ibom, has criminalized kidnapping to the point of making it a capital offense.
Yes.
I don't know about your
So deficit and borrowing, as long as it is for infrastructural, development, I don't think it will be a threat. Rather, it will, I believe strongly that it will also help to, buoy up the economy. But be that as it may, the borrowing should not be, more than, because those borrowing comes with some terms. And one hopes that those terms are favorable to the economy. If we are looking for a 1 trillion economy, it should not be a bogus 1 trillion economy. It should be a 1 trillion economy that is based on productivity and, a viral economy.
Okay, and this one, Boko Haram kills 24 miners, hunters in Adamawa, Borno, raise church and houses. So
you know this Boko Haram is becoming. I remember vividly well that we seem to have gained the upper hand with regards to decimating Boko Haram, but in the last few weeks, we have seen them raising their fingers in Adamawa and Borno. In fact, in Borno, I think about 2 days ago, the problem now in Borno with regards to Boko Haram is that they have been deploying IEDs to perpetuate their evil acts, and I'm sure the security agencies will be monitoring this situation and developing strategies to curtail them. It's a sad one.
I got to hear that the Boko NNPCL shakeup, MDs of Port Harcourt, Warri, Kaduna refineries sacked.
Well, in any job, it's about being hired and being fired. And if the management of the National Petroleum Corporation Limited have decided that these workers should go, definitely, there are others who step into
and
their
these
shoes.
new sacked top officials are supposed to be associates of ousted Melekiari.
Even if they are outside, even if they are associates of outside GMD or GCO, you must also recognize that first and foremost they were employees of the corporation. And if they have been released out, it means these workers in the next level will step into the new shoes and will want to outshine whom they are succeeding.
Obi doesn't need PDP Atiku coalition to defeat Tinubu NLC.
Well,
but is the NLC a political party?
Yes, it is under Ajo. It is both a political party as well as a workers' organization. So the NLC has become enmeshed in political ruffle, and one is not surprised because you saw it clearly. Ajero has taken the NLC to the deepest part of the shape. It is open because the NLC is the conglomeration of Nigerian workers, and Nigerian workers will be split between so many political interests. But you now using the umbrella of the NLC for a particular political party doesn't speak well, even though we recognize that the NLC is also one of the funders or founders of who has seen, but I can tell him for free.
Well, as an old warhorse, he's from the sidelines. He should be seeing things.
Yeah, he should be seeing things, but young men will dream dreams, while old men will see visions. And,
okay.
I don't know where is this vision.
From a vision is a dream.
Maybe a dream is something that you visualize, but vision could be something that has been foretold, sort of. But be that as it may, I don't subscribe to Chief Emeka Anyaoku's warning, even though it is apparent that a lot of Nigerians are also on that page that we need to run a true federal system.
And also we should introspect.
Yes, absolutely.
Turn the searchlight on us. NSA plans joint security screening at airports.
It's a good one because
we should do so.
Yes, because that is where these foreign invaders come into the country. It should not only be at the airports. I think even our land borders, innovation or devices in place at the airports. Because the minister for Internal Affairs openly boasted that any person on a wanted list or on the radar of the security agencies, once he approaches any of the airports, will be easily detected.
Okay, Kanu's trial. DSS submits Radio Biafra devices in court.
Well, he's standing trial for terrorism, and his group has been proscribed by the court of law. So it is imperative on the DSS as the prosecuting agency to submit those facts that will allow for the conviction of
or otherwise
of
U.S. jails Nigerian who defrauded 400 elderly people of inheritance.
It's a good one, and I just hope that the American government will also do us the favor of making the name, where he comes from, and his image public, and as well as ensure that they trace every asset linked to him, so that even after serving his term, naming and shaming, yes, absolutely, it should be named and shamed.
Okay, from there we'll move to the New Telegraph. The paper is there. It leads with this: kidnappers using crypto betting BDCs to launder crime proceeds. NFIU.
Well, this, if you ask me, citizen, I don't think this is news. This has been the pattern for years ago. And if they have discovered this now, the question we should ask: what are they doing? To thwart this route that the kidnappers are now using, or even terrorists, because we have always had that terrorists launder through, the bureau de change, the BDCs. If they are using crypto, it shouldn't, even betting shouldn't be news. So what are the security agencies doing to, to thwart or to make that place unattractive?
But this is an interesting rider. Alleged money laundering, Naira abuse. EFCC arrests Achimugu. I guess she's
on hunger strike.
E-money. E-money. Socialite begins hunger strike.
Well, if the EFCC has arrested them, it is for the EFCC to prosecute. And even if they are going on hunger strike, I'm sure the EFCC medical team will be monitoring them so that their health situation does not degenerate.
Well, after all, my people say the protest of the he-goat does not stop him being sold.
Oh, of course. So they are going on hunger strike will not prevent their investigation and prosecution if there's enough evidence to warrant their arraignment in court.
Have you heard this one? PDP heads to court to reclaim mandate in Delta.
Good luck to them. If they can get if they can get the governor to relinquish their mandate, because they are up in arms now that he has defected, that he came into office via the PDP platform. So if they are going to court, I wish them the best of luck.
Mine is reclaim mandate in Delta when the PDP had a mandate in the state.
Well, we all know the
mandate is not lost. Only the governor has defected.
The governor, yes, the mandate is still with the people of there. But the truth of the matter is that even when politicians or elected public officers defect, there are constitutional provisions that
military operations, not central governors set for joint mission.
Well,
to keep out bandits, terrorists fleeing Borno, Plateau, Benue, and others.
One of the greatest problems of the fight against terrorism and banditry is that the governors were fighting those wars, or the states were fighting the war solely. But now they want to join hands together. And like our people say, when the right watches the left and the left watches the hand, both becomes clean. So if they are going to join forces together, it will enable those criminals to know that you cannot run from one state to another because they are both on the same page. So it will aid in winning the war.
And other geopolitical zones have Atiku about my exit from PDP. He is leaving too, Okowa.
I told you earlier on when we said to one of the papers that if Okowa has come out publicly to tell us that he told Atiku that he's leaving PDP, don't be surprised that Okowa, from that confession, Okowa got Atiku's blessing. And from the relationship that exists between Okowa and Atiku, because Okowa was Atiku's vice presidential running mate in the 2023 presidential election. So if Okowa is telling you that Atiku is leaving very soon, I think we should be on the lookout.
Okay. Achimugo declares hunger strike as EFCC confirms arrest.
I don't know the reason for a declaration of an hunger strike, but if she has been arrested by the EFCC, it is within the purview medical attention to sustain, if it is necessary, a hunger strike.
Nelson, chew this one. Interesting. Minimum wage. NLC Kicks says some states merely add 5,000 naira to workers' salaries.
Well, under the Nigerian constitution today, the minimum wage is 70,000 naira.
Yeah.
So if any state is not paying that minimum, then the FCC should go to the NLC should go to court.
Should kick.
Yes, they should kick. I agree, absolutely.
All right. No attempted Boko Haram invasion in Oyo. Trending video outdated. Oyo State Police Command.
You know, these are interesting times where we are. You know, election is approaching, and obvious and peddlers of fake videos, fake news are on the prowl. It is for the people to, you know, shine their eyes, like we say in our local parlance. Thank God the Oyo State Police Command has come up to the point.
Yeah. Ekiti North leaders, stakeholders endorsed Oyebanji deputy for second term.
You know, the election in Ekiti State will be coming up in 2026.
Okay, next year.
So legal. So the governor is already getting endorsement from the senatorial zones of the state. Well, that is for within his party, but he still has to test his political strength with the people at the polls.
The party has to give them the flags.
Absolutely.
The Nation is here. The lead story, Okowa. Atiku's 2023 bid for president insensitive. Telling us today.
Okay. Nigerian politicians.
He said, no, hear this. I regret running with him. Tinubu deserves second term. I bear no grudge, says ex-VP.
I read some of these statements, somewhere else earlier in the day, and I was like, you knew all these things, and you went around the 36 states of Nigeria. But me person fear Nigerian politicians.
Kai. PDP to sue Delta governor and others.
Well,
again, politicians.
Yes, politicians. Let them go to court.
Okay. How Nnamdi Kanu was arrested in Lagos hotel by witness.
Well, the trial has commenced yesterday, and I read that the prosecution is asking for the witnesses to be done in camera because of security purposes.
Okay.
So, well, we are waiting and we are watching the trial of Nnamdi Kanu.
We treated this earlier on. Lawmakers indict NCC telcos over kidnappings and others.
Yes, the indictment of the end of NCC and telcos is not enough. The Nigerian legislature should make a law that will make it through the telephone if they cannot provide evidence to assist the security agencies in doing their work. I think that on that I stand.
All right. Lagos Calabar Highway, foreign investors network seeks Tinubu's intervention over $250 million loss.
Well, I don't, the Lagos Calabar Highway, foreign investors network. Well, I wouldn't know why they have incurred a loss when the highway has not been completed. So I'm at a loss with regards to how that loss came about.
Okay. I'm at a loss for words. Daily Sun is here. The lead story. Atiku will defect soon, Okowa.
We are waiting.
So he knows what we don't
know. He knows what we don't know, yes. He knows because he's closer to Atiku than we are. He knows what we don't know.
Expresses regret running with ex-VP in 2023. Tackles Saraki over criticism of joining APC.
Yes, he told Saraki that Saraki had no moral rights to criticize him for jumping ship because Saraki has also jumped ship severally.
Okay. Governor Okwebelo, that's Edo State, declares war on kidnappers and cultists. Commences demolition of properties linked to them.
I wish other states will copy from Okwebelo so that we can put this crime of kidnapping behind us because it has become a thriving business all over the country.
Yeah. Nelson, kidnapping appears to have taken over from armed robbery.
Yes, it has. Yes,
you shoot, fire a lot less bullets.
Yes,
bullets, make more money.
Make more money. Yes, absolutely. So I think I wish the other state governors will join Governor Okwebolo in declaring this war.
Okay, hardship. Cardinal Arinze blast politicians. the cardinal asked priests to contribute a little to reduce pain, give people minimum.
The cardinal are raising issues where they are not here, because the issue about hardship, in what way have the politicians contributed to it? That's the question we should ask. We are living a realistic life, and we are being faced with the reality of the times. So I don't think it is enough to blame the politicians. I think for whatever we are facing today, we have all contributed to it in one way or the other.
Okay. Consider this one. Nigeria facing existential.
Has been in the news since he was rejected from being a minister. So a lot of Nigerians look at him from the political prison. So El-Rufai's warning makes no meaning to a lot of Nigerians. The people are saying he's pained.
Maybe it makes no mening to you.
A lot of Nigerians, not only I've seen a lot of comments.
Okay, you are speaking for them.
Yes, I'm speaking for them. And El-Rufai, by the time he was still in the good books of his party, we didn't see him giving all these things. He can't. He has become the latest warner in town. He should keep his warning to himself.
All right, Anyoko, Mba genuinely, quietly transforming Enugu. I agree with him.
Well, I've not been to Enugu.
Peter Mba is doing it.
I've also heard quite a lot and read a lot about the transformation that is going on in Enugu. Well, if Chief Emeka Anyoko has given accolades to Peter Mba, I think the admonition to Peter Mba is that he should do more for the people.
That's why he was elected anyway.
Yes.
EFCC speaks on e-money's arrest, says more high-profile arrests to follow. Well, I wish they could, or they would.
They would if they have made that, because that is within their constitutional functions. And even the Supreme Court has made it clear that no court of law can stop an agency of state from carrying out a function assigned to it by the Constitution.
Nnamdi Kanu blows hot, reveals why he established Radio Biafra in London, and he insists freedom fighting is not a crime.
No, freedom fighting is not a crime. But when your freedom fighting degenerates into terrorism, when you take other people's life, you label other ethnic nationalities and you tell people to go and kill them. It becomes a crime. So I think he's having his day in court, and that is cup of tea anyway.
Okay. The Guardian, next. The lead story. 9 Mobile at crossroads seeks $3 billion lifeline as
they have increased tariff. It's not about the tariff, it's about the service. When they were talking about increment in tariff, one of the greatest challenge that they faced from subscribers was that subscribers were complaining about poor services. So if you improve your services and people are getting value for money, you have less complaints coming from your customers. But for 9 Mobile, yes, I agree totally that they need enough resources to be able to expand,
to remain in business.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Minor pieces. NFIU identifies betting, fintechs, others as enablers of kidnapping. We talked about it.
Yes, we talked about it. So I think the NFIU should now devise, or they should put heads together to devise a means to thwart that route for.
Now that they know.
Now that they know, yes. Now that they have discovered. And they should continue investigating to discover other channels that kidnappers and terrorists are exploiting.
Yeah. Hear this one. Despite 40 trillion naira investment in 11 years, insecurity in Nigeria unacceptable.
Well, so long as the human beings are involved, insecurity will always be an issue. It is for those saddled with the responsibility of protecting life and property to up their game with regards to investment in human and capital assets in order to be able to overcome insecurity. Apart from doing that, then you are just joking.
Nelson, we have not heard the last of the Akpabio senator.
Suspended Senator Natasha's
saga. Yeah.
No, we have not.
Akpabio. Agbakoba demands Natasha's retraction of sexual harassment claims.
Well,
Akbakoba
Agbakoba
is defending Akpabio.
Yeah, he's a counsel to Senate President Akpabio.
Akpabio.
And if you look at, there's even a trend there on the social media, especially on X, where somebody claimed that one Ingbeku came out and said Natasha told her how she has been manipulating a lot of people just to ensure that she brings down the Senate President. But why we want to recognize that the case in court?
Yeah.
We know that the days ahead will reveal the truth about
interesting days ahead.
Yes.
PDP to sue Oborevori and others as Okowa assures that of Atiku's imminent defection.
I think if I were the PDP, I think they should be more worried about the warning or the alerts of a defection of Atiku. Because if Atiku finally defects from the PDP, then all hell will have broken loose in that party.
Okay, hear this one from the Daily Trust. Lead story: Okowa's choice as running mate cost Atiku 2023 presidency. Moro is saying this. I'm talking about
a senator,
Abamoro, yeah.
Abamoro.
Senate minority leader.
I don't think Abamoro is in a good position to say that. The person who is in a better position to say that is the candidate himself, and we have not heard it from him. So we wonder on whose behalf Moro is speaking. Yes, I disagree vehemently. Atiku is an elder statesman, the former vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for 8 years, and somebody who has contested the presidential election almost about 4 times and lost. So Atiku Abubakar is not a small fry in our political environment. So we should know better. So if Atiku comes out and actually tells us that he's choosing his running mate costing, then we'll ask, who made you to choose him? You chose him yourself.
Yeah. This one, FBI, others to release Tinubu probe reports Friday.
We are waiting because some people have gone to town, and we recognize that pre the 2023 election, we had all sorts of stories. At the end of the day, it was all smoke without fire. So we are waiting to see what happens on Friday.
Alleged money laundering, another story in the Daily Trust. Achimugu to appear in court today.
It means that the case the EFCC have against her, that the EFCC, maybe they have crossed their eyes and dotted their eyes and crossed their teeth. So we expect that our appearance today in court will signal the commencement of our case.
Okay. ISWAP claims responsibility for Borno attack as death toll, age 26.
You know, I told you about the use of IEDs.
IEDs, yeah.
Yes, I think the security agencies now have their work cut out for them with regards to this new formula, new pattern of attack. You know, in the past, we see videos or we hear reports of Boko Haram attacking villages, you know, in a large contingent on motorbikes. But because they have been decimated, they don't have the strength again now. What they are doing now is to deploy IEDs for their targets. So the security, it's unfortunate. I'm sure the Nigerian security agencies working with their international partners, because you know the fight against ISWAP is of an international dimension. I'm sure they will leverage on information and intelligence from other from their international partners and find a way around this.
Nelson Mina, Niger State is under a curfew now. So residents are talking about they are trekking for miles as the curfew in the state fights.
Well, the curfew in the state,
result of insecurity.
Yes, the curfew in the state was imposed for security reasons. And I'm sure, I want to believe that though the governor who imposed the curfew with the security heads will be reviewing the situation on a regular basis. And this lamentation is something that they also take into consideration in deciding how to, you know, relax the curfew maybe a bit to allow for passage, while not endangering the security that necessitated the imposition of the curfew in the first place.
This next story underscores the fact that you must punish bad behavior. Soldier to die by hanging for killing girlfriend.
Well, that's the court has given the judgment. If he killed the girlfriend in cold blood, the court has punished that bad behavior.
After all, the law is the law.
The law is the law, yes. Whether you are a soldier or you are a civilian, you are first and foremost a human being.
NNPCL rather appoints Idrisu Obioma, sacks Port Harcourt Refineries MD, to 200 others.
Well, for any job is about being employed and being retired or sacked. So for those who are coming into the saddle, we wish them the best of luck.
Okay, the last but not least paper is this day. This day, the lead story is this one. Okowa, for stable Nigeria, Tinubu should complete 8-year tenure.
I think that admonition is very, very apt, because in the political firmament, people have come out publicly to say we have this zoning arrangement. The North has had 8 years. It is imperative for national unity, security, and peace.
For equity.
For the South also to enjoy its own 8 years, such that we'll be at peace with one another. It's in sync with the reality of our situation in Nigeria.
4 riders discloses Atiku leaving PDP soon. Uncertainty surrounding coalition. Says Saraki lacks moral right to criticize him. That's Okowa. Insists defection not connected to EFCC case. Opposition party to challenge defection. Refers secretaryship tussle to NEC.
You can see that the PDP is a house in crisis, because
it's divided against itself.
Yes, it's divided against itself, and that is why we have this defection that is ongoing, and then some looming ones. If Okowa has told us that Atiku is leaving soon, I think we should take it
like gospel.
Yes, absolutely.
he must know what
he knows what we don't know,
Yeah.
because he's closer to him than we are.
All right, that's it on the newspaper headliners for today. So the papers are there. Go out there, get a copy of your favorite paper or papers, sort the stories, understand the context, and then, of course, you'll be better informed and entertained. Thank you, Nelson Ekojimi, for your time.
Thank you, Citizen. Thank you, viewers.
I'm out of here until the next time.
As we inch closer to Tuesday, 13th May 2025, the date for High Prince Bisi Olatilo, Nigeria's multilingual broadcasting doyen's Jubilee Anniversary celebration in broadcasting, and 25 years of the Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS. Let's quickly avail you with the latest information about the biggest media event of the moment. The event begins on a prayerful note by UK-based founder of Kingdom Power Ministries, Apostle Boyega Shita, and ministration by Apostle Dr. Joseph Wole Oladinu, founder of Clam Church Global, the spiritual father of the Olatilo family home and abroad. The chairman of the event is Senator Major General Ike Nwachukwu, retired. The guest of honor is Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, and the chief launcher of the Bisi Olatilo Foundation, BOF, is Sir Kensington Adebutu, CFR, Prince Bisi Olatilo's ultimate benefactor. The royal father of the day is His Imperial Majesty, Oba Dr. Babatunde Enitan Ogunwusi, CFR, Ojaja II. Mr. Donald Duke, CON, former governor of Cross River State, speaks about the evolution and power of the Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS. The panel discussion is on the new media and the future of broadcasting with Gen Zs and millennials as panelists. The highlight of the event will be the presentation of the prestigious Grand BOS Awards to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, CON. BOS Awards will also be presented to the governors of Lagos, Bayelsa, Enugu, Ekiti, Delta, Kano, and Akwa Ibom State. Also on the BOS Mega Award lists are Alhaji Aliko Dangote, GCON, and Alhaji Dr. Abdusamad Rabiu of Bua Group. BOS Awards will also be presented to the following industry players: Mr. Tony Elumelu, CFR, FCT Minister, Barrister Chief Nyesom Wike, Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodimma, and Managing Director and CEO of NDDC, Dr. Samuel Ogbuku. BOS Banker of the Year Award goes to Dame Dr. Adora Umoji, OON, GMD and CEO, Zenith Bank PLC. The Bank of the Year is Wema Bank PLC, celebrating 80 years. BOS Entrepreneur of the Year is Barrister Mrs. Uju Ifejika, OFR, Dr. Mrs. Nikki Akonde, CON, Alhaji Razak Okoya, CON, and Prince Samuel Adedoyin will bag BOS All-Time Supporters Awards. BOS Awards to outstanding players in Nigeria's media industry will be bagged by Senator Ben Murray Bruce of Silverbird Television, Dr. John Momo, OON of Channels TV, and Prince Nduka Obaigbena, CON, founder of Arise News. High Chief Raymond Dokbesi, founder of Dar Communication PLC, owners of AIT and Ray Power, the pathfinder of private radio and television broadcasting in Nigeria. The award will be given to him posthumously. Remember, Tuesday, 13th May 2025, Prince Bisi Olatilo double-header event at Muson Center, Lagos at 11 a.m. See you there.
From the stable of Biscon Communications, producers of the Bisi Olatilo Show, Nigeria's #1 general interest magazine show, comes BOS International Magazine. With BOS International Magazine, you can now enjoy the best of two worlds with Biscon Communications, the emerging media conglomerate. BOS International Magazine keeps you constantly in touch with events on the social scene as they happen, global news, politics, sports, special interviews, fashion and style, and essential tips about life and living. BOS International Magazine is a complete package of entertainment and education at your doorsteps. Ask your vendor for a copy today. We welcome distributors across the country.
To begin this report by expressing how exceedingly gratifying it feels to know that the population of those who watch the Bisi Olatilo show, BOS, in Europe and other parts of the world is increasing in leaps and bounds, and this cuts across all classes of Nigerians in the diaspora. This much was at play recently when our chief correspondent Bisi Olatilo was on a quick working visit to Cambridge, London and Aberdeen in Scotland, all in Europe. One general point that resonated resoundingly in all the comments made by most of these fans of the Bisi Olatilo show, which they claim has endeared the program to them abidingly, is our ability to give viewers what they seem to need and not necessarily what we can easily reach. With that at the back of our minds, and true to our tradition of always serving as the eyes and ears of our viewers to give them detailed and accurate information about any new plays of interest we come across in the course of our duty, which has helped scores of our viewers to make informed choices about either choosing such places as a destination for business, leisure, or indeed permanent residence. Our focus in this edition of the program is on Aberdeen in Scotland, a truly cosmopolitan city that offers a great range of stately architecture and sparkling granite buildings steeped in the legacy of a rich heritage and tradition, complemented by contemporary structures. Aberdeen's proximity to some of the most awe-inspiring countryside and coastline sets it apart from other international cities as one of the few major cities with a beach. Aberdeen City and Shire holds such an attraction for many for a diversity of reasons. Aberdeen's vibrant business community means that the entrepreneurial spirit is alive and flourishing. Aberdeen is a powerhouse of expertise and knowledge, generating numerous innovation and entrepreneurs, particularly in the oil and gas industry, engineering and software development, oil drilling and renewable energy technologies. With a worldwide reputation and great economic wealth from the success of the oil and gas industry, Aberdeen has the greatest concentration of subsea engineering and operational expertise in the world. Aberdeen's remarkable energy story began when oil was found in the North Sea in 1969. The discovery of oil in the North Sea changed the economy of the United Kingdom forever. This broke the dependence on the OPEC countries, which had previously pushed up the cost of oil. Since then, Aberdeen has grown to service the oil and gas sector, and it first became the oil capital and now the energy capital of Europe. Today, businesses in Aberdeen are being stimulated to apply their oil and gas expertise to diversify into renewable energy, to spearhead UK's international drive to secure business in the new energy future. Aberdeen is regarded as the #1 place for quality of life and the United Kingdom's happiest city, and Aberdeenshire as the best place to live in Scotland. In terms of living standards using the employment, earnings, health, housing, crime and the weather index as benchmarks, Aberdeen is clearly ahead in Europe with employment rates of 81.4% above average earnings, a low crime rate and one of Scotland's highest life expectancies. Aberdeen City and Shire has also earned a reputation as a centre of excellence in top-flight education. With such a thriving student population, Aberdeen is vibrant and energetic, with a vast range of recreational and sporting facilities. Aberdeen City and Shire has been voted by students as one of the best places to study in the United Kingdom. No wonder Aberdeen City and Shire has become a magnet for students and other visitors. Aberdeen can be accessed by road, rail and air. By air, Aberdeen can be reached through the international airport not too far from the city centre, with flights coming in daily to the city from over 40 destinations. Aberdeen's excellent road and rail connections from Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, and Glasgow, Dundee, Birmingham and Manchester in a matter of 2 hours, and the added option of using the overnight sleeper service makes a trip to Aberdeen by rail or road a pleasurable experience to look forward to. One of Aberdeen's most popular tourist attractions is the Aberdeen Art Gallery, housing a range of paintings from the 19th, 20th and 21st centuries and other works. This also ties in with the famous Maritime Museum, which can be found in Ship Row, behind Union Street and within the view of Aberdeen's busy working harbour. The Maritime Harbour tells the story of Aberdeen's strong connection with the sea, the harbour's shipbuilding history in the 17th century to the oil and gas industry. Aberdeen is also rich in the provision of leisure and sporting facilities. There are a variety of fairways in Aberdeen and about 25 link courses. Renowned golfers now make holiday golfing on many of the pay and play courses a way of life. Of course, Aberdeen is also a football city. The Scottish Premier League with Aberdeen Football Club is a major attraction for lovers of soccer. Aberdeen also plays host to the International Football Festival, an event that attracts hundreds of youth players from around the world annually for a week of exciting competition. Our crew ran into members of the Aberdeen Football Club at the Peterborough Stadium minutes after their training session. We even had a small shot with the Nigerian international Sunday Aluko, who plies his trade with Aberdeen Club. Here we serve you footages of the exterior of the famous Aberdeen Football Club Stadium, with the well-ordered and programmed setting which commends itself to a detailed study and perhaps replication in these parts. The sparkling main bowl of the Aberdeen Football Club Stadium takes one's breath away. The Cathedral Church of St. Marca of Old Aberdeen serves as a parish church of Old Aberdeen, where worship is richly musical and liturgical and strongly ecumenical in outlook. The ancient site of worship at Old Aberdeen was, according to a legend, founded in 580 AD by Marca, a companion of Saint Columbia of Iona. It became a cathedral church in 1131. The present building dates from circa 1350 to 1520. Much of the beauty and character of the cathedral is due to a number of building bishops, amongst who was Bishop Kinemund, who built the fortified West Towers and began the present name. The Scottish Reformation of 1560 led the east end of the cathedral to be abandoned, along with much of ecclesiastical property in the Channery. The bishop's palace was razed, and in 1688 the central tower collapsed. It is important to state that points of interest in the cathedral include a stove Pictish incised cross, which is an indefinite loan from the University of Aberdeen. There is also a batik baptismal banner by Thetis Blacker and a silk communion tablecloth by Stephanie Tristrassen and a pall of 8 bells installed in 1987. Several notable figures are buried within the graveyard, including Robert Brow, RSA, Aberdeen, artists, Gavin Dunbar, Bishop of Aberdeen and Chancellor of Scotland, and Robert Lone, missionary and surgeon to Malawi, and Thomas Glover, a Scottish samurai, regarded as one of the founders of modern industrial Japan. The Church of Scotland seeks to share with all friends and stranger fellow Christians, those of other faiths or more, the love of God for all, and to build a just and peaceable community. After having taken you on an extensive historical excursion around the exciting places, moments and sights in Aberdeen, the Granite City, and the most fascinating city in Scotland, and as we coast to the homeward stretch of this story, let's dwell on the main reason why the Bisi Olatile Show visited Aberdeen, which was to be part of the University of Aberdeen's the King's College graduation ceremony of one of the world's leading citadels of tertiary education, ranked among the best universities in the world. University of Aberdeen has, in its over 500 years of existence, churned out distinguished men and women who today are success stories in their various endeavors in different stratas and climes across the world. The Bisi Olatile Show crew was indeed proud to have been counted among the very special class of people from across the globe that was present at the graduation of the University of Aberdeen this year. The scene at the University of Aberdeen grounds was that of great excitement and joy as the graduates, parents, friends, relations and loved ones gathered to rejoice with their loved ones who have climbed the ladder of academic success to graduate in different disciplines. We captured the excitement and good feelings in the air, and indeed the very captivating ambience of the magnificent hall used for the graduation ceremony. The pre-graduation ceremonies were very orderly and most perfectly organized. As guests clustered in groups to share the good tidings amongst one another, photographs were taken as souvenirs of the momentous occasion. These formalizations preceded the commencement of the graduation ceremonies. The audience was called to order by a young man who dressed in an unmistakable Scottish outfit, known as kilt, as he blew the famous Scottish pipe to usher in the guests into the hall ahead of the graduates. Once all the guests had taken their seats, it was now the turn of the graduating students, who exuded great joy and excitement as they walked in gingerly and briskly in their graduation gowns, to the admiration of the guests who cheered them as they walked along. The procession of the Vice Chancellor of the University and other senior officials of the University of Aberdeen was solemn and precious. Before the graduates were called in to receive their degrees in various disciplines, some lecturers who displayed outstanding performances in their work were specially rewarded to the admiration of the students and audience in general. There was also a very eloquent delivery of some very important points that should be borne in mind by all those who wish to be part of the University of Aberdeen in any way. All the great stories achieved by the university over the years were brilliantly signposted. It was indeed a very proud moment for Nigerians who shone excellently among graduates from different countries that made the honors lists of the prestigious University of Aberdeen this year. Among them was Lara Adekeye, the daughter of Vice Admiral Ganiyo Adekeye, the immediate past Chief of Naval Staff. Lara, who is the first daughter of Vice Admiral Adekeye, was supported on this very special day by her parents, brothers and sisters, as well as relatives, and those who traveled all the way to be part of the great event. Let's savor the beauty and splendor of the University of Aberdeen graduation for this year as we take some performances. At the end of the very memorable event, as the guests made their way out of the hall and congratulate their awards, some graduates settled down to a photo and video session with friends and loved ones. Of course, we had long hours of studying, but through it all, I came out at the end so far. First one, that's my BNG, was actually University of Ilorin, Kwara State. I actually did safety engineering in this school, also I have a PG diploma in that. Then my third one is actually MSc. The next thing, I want to work in Nigeria so far because we have a lot of issues with our oil and gas industry, and I'm hoping to contribute mine into the system.
When you compare Nigeria and the UK, one very good thing going for the UK is the practicality they bring to their study. While you're in Nigeria, most of what you do is theoretical. here in the UK, we have the opportunity of working with the industry. For instance, my dissertation was with a company. I provided real tailor-made solution to the company, and that enhanced my understanding of what we did in the classroom when you match that with what you have to deal with in the industry. I'm looking at going back to Nigeria and really developing or giving my own beats in terms of development into Nigeria. Right now, in terms of safety engineering practice in Nigeria, it's not really
I'm gratified that the girl has come out with success in this degree course. She's a very fiercely independent person.
I'm very happy. I'm overwhelmed with joy. As a mother, I think I've done part of my responsibility towards her, giving her education, which is the best thing a mother or parent can give to the children. So I'm really very happy for her, and I wish her all the best. Good work.
She has stood her ground. The mom was telling me, yes, you are pressuring her, you are supporting her. Don't you know she's like you?
I wish her all the best in the world. Beyond what I wish myself.
Hearty congratulations to all the 2009 graduates of the prestigious Aberdeen University King's College and their parents for the successful completion of their studies.
Of the Island Club held the first of its kind joint pre-group sitting lecture. The 2017 lecture was held at the reception hall of the Island Club, Onikon, Lagos, on Thursday, 30th March 2017. The event started in earnest with the national anthem.
So I'm grateful to you for allowing us to use your platform for this event, and I think I should also specially thank the host of the day, who is going to take all our bills today. We are here solid to contribute our quota to good governance and to respect the dignity of man anywhere in the world. So that's our foundation. Having said that, I again want to thank you all. I want to adopt the protocol. That's why I didn't go through it when I started, because the time is far spent. I want to adopt, and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corner this evening, to wish us all a very wonderful afternoon.
The lecture brought together former Nigerian ambassadors of various countries of the world who used the opportunity to ask Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa pertinent questions on Nigeria's foreign policy and the welfare of Nigerians abroad. Dignitaries that graced the event include the guest speaker of the day and senior special assistant to the President on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, Chairman of the Island Club, Mr. Oladipo Okpesheyi, SAN, Alhaji Sharif Olarinwaju Folami, Dean of the Diplomatic Table, Otumba Ambassador Segun Akinsoya, Vice President of the Center Table, Reverend Oyebadejo, former Chairman, Central Association of Nigerians in the UK. The welcome address was delivered by the Dean of the Diplomatic Table of Island Club, Otumba Ambassador Segun Akinsoya. Ambassador Segun Akinsoya welcomed all to the event. He noted that the lecture was the first collaboration between the Center Table and Diplomatic Corner. He said the purpose of the lecture was to stimulate public interest, to brainstorm on important issues in the society, as the Island Club is not only a place to eat and drink, but also a place of affirmation of matters of the moment. Ambassador Segun Akinsoya describes the guest speaker as a voice of the voiceless, a symbol of hope and inspiration for all. He said her career in the media focused on gender issues in the parliament, sponsoring of bills that have changed the ways of the system, and her passion for the emancipation of womanhood and the girl child are worthy of note. He urged all present to pay rapt attention to the guest speaker to enable them gain from her wide experience. Honorable Abike Kafayat Oluwatoyin Dabiri Erewa, born in Jos, Plateau State, is a politician, and she was the chairman of the House Committee on Media and Publicity. She was also the former chair of the House Committee on Diaspora Affairs. She was elected for the first time in 2003 and re-elected in 2007 and 2011. In 2015, she was appointed the Senior Specialist. Sewa attended Maryland Private School, Maryland, Ikeja, for her primary school education and St. Theresa's College, Ibadan, for her secondary school education. She obtained her first degree in English language from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU, Ile-Ife. She has a postgraduate diploma, PGD in Mass Communication, and a master's degree in Mass Communication from the University of Lagos, Akoka. She also studied at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University, USA. Honorable Dabiri Erewa sponsored a number of important bills that were passed by Parliament, including the Freedom of Information Bill and the Bill for an Act to ensure full integration of Nigerians with physical disabilities and elimination of all forms of discrimination against them. Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, in her lecture, said there were currently about 15 million Nigerians in various parts of the world. She made the pronouncement at the Island Club, Lagos, during the lecture. The senior special assistant to the president said Nigerians living in different countries of the world were not all completely bad, but many of them were doing excellently well in their professions. To support her claim was a photo documentary of her interaction with Nigerians excelling in different careers, including the Nigerian WHIS engineer who designed Chevrolet Volt masterpiece. She said, although there is the good, the bad, and the ugly, Nigeria has proud stories to share of many of her diaspora nationals.
As I speak with you today, we're talking about 15 million Nigerians in the diaspora. As you know, sir, the statistic is not accurate, but we're trying to get an accurate database, but we're dealing with majority of them in America. We're looking at about 4 million, another 4 million in Europe. Then in Africa alone, we just realized that in Cote d'Ivoire, we have about 3 billion Nigerians in diaspora. That is not reflected here. And I'm sure you know that. In Sudan, almost half of the population are Nigerians. Cameroon, the same thing. And you know, it's like, what's going on? In Sudan alone, if the Nigerians in Sudan leave Sudan, the country will collapse. And they're all doing great things. The richest man in Sudan, there are physicians in America, 70% of them are Nigerian doctors. 70% of the doctors are Nigerians. So we could go on and on, whether it's the world of education, science and technology, IT, our brothers and sisters are excelling. And of course we have the bad and the ugly, which has to do with the fact that we have a few Nigerians in trouble abroad. South Africa, we have 460 Nigerians in prison. India, we have 560. Brazil, we have 100 and something. I was in Brazilian prison to meet the women in prison, and one of them was a 73-year-old Nigerian woman who was caught with drugs. We went to look for her because she shouldn't be in prison, she should be under house arrest. But we got to Brazilian prison, we met the women, and sadly to say, in Brazil, the women are from... Host engineer
On behalf of the chairman and CEO of Biscon Communications, we heartily congratulate the Senior Special Assistant on Diaspora and Foreign Affairs and the Island Club.
That's part of it. A database of Nigerians in diaspora is important. Work is going on it. Every embassy should have a database of Nigerians in their country, period. You know, it should be statutory. If there are 10, just list them as 10. If there are 1,000, list them as 1,000. So it's important to keep a database of every Nigerian in your country. And the diaspora organizations are also working to have a database of their membership. By the time you put all that together, we need an accurate database that will also break down into what each person are doing. With the touch of a button, you can know that you have a Nigerian doing this here and there. Smaller countries have it, so there's no reason why we can't have it. So that's why we're moving towards having a functional commission, a functional policy, and a functional and efficient diaspora. You know, they talk about when we come back home, they don't integrate, there are bureaucratic bottlenecks, there are issues of doing businesses in Nigeria. You want to spend 2 weeks, whatever you came for, you cannot even process the document within 2 weeks. We know those challenges. The policy identifies those challenges and also deals with how you deal with these challenges. Of course, these challenges are not just diaspora based, We're working on the ease of doing business. You can see a lot the VP's office is doing in that regard. So generally speaking, good leadership is important, no matter what you do. And that is why we need every Nigerian to support the programs and policies of the Buhari administration. It's going to be tough. It's a long road to travel, but we're going to travel that road and we're going to succeed. So it's about leadership. So the whole...
The maiden convocation ceremony of KC International University, South Korea, has taken place in Lagos State, Nigeria. The very colorful event had in attendance the Alaafin of Oyo, His Imperial Majesty, Oba Dr. Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi III, who is the Grand Patron and Pro-Chancellor of the institution, as well as members of the Board of Assessors and Governing Council, who all turned out in the ceremonial academic gown, bearing the traditional color of the KC International University, South Korea. The program formally began with the academic procession, with the graduating students too. The constitution of the congregation was quickly put in motion by the institution's chancellor. This was followed by the inaugural convocation address by the chairman in council of KC International University, South Korea, Dr. High Prince Leye Babalola.
We thank God Almighty that made March 18, 2017 a memorable day in the history of KIU Research Center, Nigeria. It was exactly 1 year ago when my great friend and respected friend, Professor Sir Dr. D.G. Sain, wrote a letter titled, "We are exploring the possibility of working together in African continent." I asked for what? He said, for us to contribute our quota to the growth, progress, and development of educational policy in the Republic of Federal Nigeria, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and African continent, so as to eradicate illiteracy through virtual university system. We eventually signed Memorandum of Understanding, Affiliation Agreement for Dual International Recognition on May 16, 2016 between KCA International University, South Korea and Institute of Company and Commercial Accountants of Nigeria, with the aims and objective to train and retrain our associates and fellow members practically, academically, and professionally in SMEs, forensic accounting, taxation, auditing and investigation, finance and accounting, information and communication technology, business administration, financial and management consultancy, to academic to professional qualification in doctoral, master, and bachelor's degree certificate through thesis and project. It was on this note that KIU Research Center was incorporated by Corporate Affairs Commission Abuja, RC 138-7826 of 27/01/2017, as stipulated by the Provision of Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990, as amended by Cap 21 of Law of Federation 2004, situated at Okeo, Oyo North of Federal Republic of Nigeria, as a training arms of ICC. It is my pleasure to inform this August gathering that ICC is the only indigenous accounting professional body in the Federal Republic of Nigeria to have signed such MOU affiliation agreement with an international recognized university called KIU.
KC International University is a globally recognized research-oriented private for-profit institution of higher education from South Korea. The institution offers programs that will lead to the awards of bachelor's, master's, doctoral and postdoctoral research degrees in different disciplines of study. One of the benefits derivable from education in KIU include a flexible and collaborative learning regime which enables working-class professionals to enrich their skills and enhance their career prospects. KIU makes it very easy for you to work and still advance your academic careers. Established in 2008, KIU is the first international school serving a global community which provides high-quality and seamless instructional education system. KC International University, which is envisioned to have branches in Nigeria, Ghana, and Sierra Leone, already has established the KIU Research Center in Nigeria. Plans are at an advanced stage for the establishment of KC International University in Nigeria. Courses offered in the institution include, among others, BSc in Entrepreneurship, BSc in Information and Communications Technology, BSc in Business and Public Administration, and BSc in Accounting and Finance. An expanse of land of between 50 to 100 hectares has been secured between Oyo Iseyin and Okeohu in Oyo State, which is one of the conditions stipulated by the National Universities Commission for the establishment of the university in Nigeria, thanks to the foresight of the Alaafin of Oyo. The message that institutions like KC International University is passing is that since the world is a global village, education should not be encumbered by geographical boundaries. The high point of the maiden convocation of KC International University of South Korea, which took place at the Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos, was the conferment of honorary doctorate degrees on 3 distinguished personalities. They include the Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Dr. Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi, CFR, the permanent chairman of Oyo State Council of Obas and Chiefs, Chancellor of the University of Maiduguri, Borno State, Chancellor of Crescent University, Abeokuta, Ogun State, and the Pro-Chancellor, KC International University, Nigeria, Ghana, and Sierra Leone.
The Imperial Majesty Oba Alayelua, Dr. Alhaji Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi, the Alaafin of Oyo, a frontline Nigerian traditional ruler, was born in October 1938 after his Quranic education in Iseyin. He attended Obalinde Modern School and later Tinubu Methodist School before proceeding to St. Gregory's College, Obalinde, Lagos, for his secondary school education. Oba Adeyemi, one of Africa's most powerful and most influential royal father, who gleefully takes his visitors and guests on an exploratory voyage of history, the royal journey garnished with a huge responsibility to protect, defend, and project the cherished values of Yoruba customs and traditions with verve and vigor. In appreciation of his sterling contributions to the nation, the federal government of Nigeria honored him with the national honor of CFR in 1979. Oba Adeyemi's journey had not been a smooth ride or a smooth path. Rather, he rode on the high, stormy sea, so burnt mountains, and many times on rocky, hilly paths. Sir, I present to you His Imperial Majesty, Oba Alayelua, Dr. Alhaji Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi III, the Alaafin of Oyo, a lover of quality education, a man with an uncommon passion and love for KC International University, South Korea, a faithful father to Dr. I. Prince Leia Babalola, a custodian of Yoruba culture, and a selfless servant of the nation, for admission to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Criminal Justice and Legal System Forensic Science, honorary causa. Thank you, sir.
Also honored with a doctorate degree is Sir Dr. Chief Kesentin Adebukunla Adebutu, CON, the Knight of John Wesley, who holds the honorary doctorate degrees of many universities on account of his philanthropic gesture and unprecedented assistance and empowerment of humanity through education and the enhancement of the health condition of all classes of people.
The citation, which is the profile of Sir Kesentin Adebukunla Adebutu, CON, KJW, FISM, born to the late Alhaji Karimu Folani Adebutu, aka Owoiya, and late Alhaja Seliat Olasimbo Adebutu of Iperuremo, Ikene local government in Ogun State, on the 24th of October 1935. Sir Kesentin attended the Wesley Primary School, Iperuremo, and Ijero Baptist School, Apapa Road, Ebutemeta, Lagos, where he completed his primary education in 1950 He was admitted into Baptist Academy in Lagos for his secondary education in January 1951, which he completed at the famous Raymond Secondary School, RSS, Shagam, Raymond, Ogun State in 1955. He attended several leadership and management development courses, seminars, and programs both in Nigeria and abroad. As an employee, Kensington paid his dues highly in life by working first with Cable and Wireless Limited, which later transformed into Nitel, as an operation clerk in 1956. He then joined Claffin Chemicals Limited as a salesman and rose to the position of the regional sales manager for Lagos and the old Mid-Western state. Having displayed uncommon integrity, hard work, and sincerity of purpose, which earned him both respect and recognition very early in life, Kensington has become one of the most reliable and an outstanding human and material resources manager. Popularly known and called as Baba Ijebu, his Lotto business venture has brought hope to the hopeless and great succor to the needy in the society. Today, Kensington's business instinct has made him to diversify into other investments, notable amongst which property management, agriculture, and entertainment, with a ground-breaking successes in all. His managerial skills can be visibly perceived in his highly efficient workforce. His love for humanity made him to establish the Kensington Adebukunla Adebutu Foundation, CAF, in 2005 as a corporate vehicle for his philanthropic activities, and has through CAF provided assistance to a large number of individuals. The foundation has donated several projects and facilities in different parts of the country and beyond. Some of his titles to show for these are: 1, the Ashoju Oba of Lagos; 2, Balogun of Remoland; 3, the Balogun of Iperu, Remo; 4, the Baba Ijo of Wesley Church Cathedral, Iperu, Remo; 5, Asiwaju Onigbagbo of Ikene Local Government; 6, Agbesinga Adini of Remo Kingdom; 7, Omoluabi of Ikene Local Government; and finally, a Knight of John Wesley, KJW.
Doctoral award to you for the service and kind work that you've done for the nation of Nigeria.
Once again, would like to congratulate you from KC International University, South Korea. Congratulations.
In fact, the highlight of the 21st convocation of the Lagos State University, which comes up on Thursday, the 24th of March 2017, will be the conferment of Sir Kensington Adebutu with an honorary doctorate degree for his selfless service to the upliftment of Lagos State University, LASU, where he has helped to establish a multi-million naira radio station. Chief Kenny Martins was also decorated with the 3rd honorary doctorate degree by the KC International University of South Africa for his service to humanity.
To convert on Chief Sir Doctor today, Kenny Martins, Doctor of Philosophy in Conflict and Peace Studies.
In his remarks, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III, the Alaafin of Oyo, asked accounting bodies like the Institute of Chartered Accountants, ICANN, to endeavor to collaborate with the KIU for high-quality standard of education to develop the small and medium-scale enterprises. The Alaafin said that this way, Nigeria will quickly get out of the recession that is currently biting very hard in all sectors of the economy. The Alaafin of Oyo said that when the programs fully take root, students will be able to study and be awarded degrees in bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels of education in various disciplines. He opined that no nation could advance without developing her educational potentials.
I'm happy that through this pilot program organized by KC International University Research Center, Nigeria, on behalf of KC International University, South Korea, Students will be awarded certificates in bachelor's, master's, honorary and doctorate degrees in various fields of choice. I must state here that it's very important that having written a letter of intent to establish University of Nigeria, Ghana and Sierra Leone, make sure they comply with the educational policy statement of National University Commission, NUC Nigeria, National Accreditation Board, NAB Ghana, and Tertiary Education Commission, ITEC, Sierra Leone, so as to commence student admission from 2018 academic year. It is pertinent to note that at the process of KC International University in Nigeria, we have secured 50 to 100 hectares of land between Oyo and Okeo, where he has just been appointed the Bobajiro of Okeo, a town in Okeogun, division of Oyo province, through my directive to the Oba there.
In his own remarks, Sir Kessington Adebutu, who had to cut short his overseas trip to be present at the ceremony, thanked the Alaafin for his very commendable contributions to the growth of the KC International University of South Korea, particularly his effort to see that Nigerians and other countries like Ghana and Sierra Leone in West Africa also benefit from the quality education offered at KIU right on their own soil. Sir Kessington Adebutu again reiterated his interest in education and the enhancement of the well-being of individuals, no matter where they are from.
But I've just taken permission to thank you for this honor done to us. I mean, I'm talking on behalf of the awardees now. And to me, it's a call to service. And especially for me as a person, I believe so much in education and medical. I have a foundation. I have a foundation, and that is our main job. Medical and education. And the reason is very simple. I believe that any soul who is educated and healthy can never go hungry. So having said that, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, I thank the KI University for this honor done to us. And I can assure you that we shall do all within our power to support you in this country. Thank you very much.
Students from KIU who have successfully completed their courses of study came out one after the other to be decorated and presented certificates and awards. 3 people were conferred with honorary fellow and membership of ICCA. All the awardees were formally inducted into the World Peace and Diplomacy Organization as peace ambassadors. More people were presented with prizes. The best ICCA research fellow, the patron of ICCA. Awards of BSc and PhD degrees followed as the successful graduates came out gingerly to collect their certificates and degrees. KC International University, South Korea concentrates in providing high-quality tertiary education for small and medium-scale entrepreneurs, a sector that is very critical for every economy. This way, low GDP, low production risk, and the problem of unemployment will be tackled. Those who want to build a very robust career in accounting, management, taxation, financing, and auditing should quickly key into the KC International University, South Korea through KC International University Research Center, Nigeria, Okeohu, Oyo State, for top quality education, which is benchmarked in tandem with international best practices.
It's a wonderful thing that I have witnessed today, and being a part of what they have done today, I'm so happy. At least being one of the first set of people that are taking their PhD with this university, foreign university, that came into Nigeria to establish. So we are happy to be a part of the program.
What I would tell people is that we're beginning to help people realize their dreams, because in the nation of Nigeria specifically, there are a large number of students who currently have no option for entering university. By establishing a tertiary campus here in Nigeria, it allows us to give them some opportunities for completing their education. And that's what we really are all about trying to help students who want to complete their higher education.
It's not only in Nigeria, in Ghana and Sierra Leone. Investors are coming from Far East Asia countries to build on what the Nigerian people, organizations, people like Silva, they are now coming in group to signal the fact that they accepted and commended what the Nigerians are doing. If they have not done well, they will not have been motivated to do Nigerians to come and invest their hard-earned money. You can see from the citation that these beautiful Nigerians, seven Nigerians, the citation they made about them, you see that even outside people recognize the effort of our people in various fields, especially in the field of education.
Well, I feel good and I appreciate people recognizing our impact in the community. It's an honor which I appreciate very highly. There's nobody who can do everything. Even government cannot provide all the necessary amenities for its people. And that is why we specialize in medical and education.
The sun, in its majestic department, stood still as His Highness the Emir of Kano Alhaji Dr. Ado Bayero CFR on Friday the 8th of June 2012 conferred the title of Damajan Kano on the Central Bank Governor Sunusi Lamido Sunusi in recognition of his royal antecedents and the honor he has brought to the Kano Emirate through his howling successes in various spheres, especially in the banking sector. Such occasion, steeped in culture and tradition, with the trappings of royalty, cannot but be chronicled for the world. Groundbreaking turbaning of the Central Bank Governor, Malan Sunusi Lamido Aminu Sunusi, with one of the most prestigious traditional titles in Kano Emirate, is not a mere honorary gesture by His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Dr. Ado Bayero CFR, as the lineage history narrated by an independent researcher of the Kano Palace, Nasir Wada Khalil, revealed him as a rightful heir to the regal title.
Malan Lamido Sunusi is a hybrid of two classes of people in Kano. He has the royal blood and the blood of the Islamic scholars. His father is Basulibi from Sulibawa clan, which is the ruling dynasty in Kano. He is a grandson of Emir of Kano, the most famous Emir of Kano, Sir Muhammad Sunusi, Knight of British Empire and Khalifa of Tijaniya movement. And we know that Khalifa Sunusi was the son of Emir of Kano Abdullahi Bayero. Emir of Kano Abdullahi Bayero is the son of Emir of Kano Abbas, was the first Emir after the invasion of the British colonial masters in Kano. And Emir of Kano Abbas is the son of Abdullahi Maji Karopi, and Abdullahi Maji Karopi is the son of Ibrahim Dabu. Ibrahim Dabu is the first among the Silibawa dynasty that became the Emir of Kano and established a dynastic lineage up till present moment. Therefore, from that angle, we can say that Lamido is a dynasty from Silibawa dynasty. He's a prince and he's a royalist.
Preceding the historic Tobanin was the arrival of dignitaries from different parts of the country and beyond. Indeed, the palace of the Emir of Kano witnessed an unprecedented assemblage of visitors. Among them were Speaker, Nigeria's House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Aminu Waziri Tambol, members of the National Assembly, former heads of state General Yakubu Gowon and Muhammadu Buhari, about 15 governors from different political parties, captains of industries, members of the business community, past and present, bank chief executives, traditional rulers from all parts of the country, and politicians from all vied registered their huge presence. Members of the diplomatic community were on hand to share the joy of the occasion. They all took turns to pay homage to the Damajan Kano as he got ready for the big event.
Sai sun ja da baya don shi alheri ne gaban safa da baya sarkin mu na Kano Ado Bayero Baba ya dasa albarka ya baka sarauta yau matan Kano sarki Ibaba ya baka jama'a da yawa suna alasan barka.